Harris guy? Ridiculous.
I've had people ask me for fantasy advice at the urinal, at a concert,
I can imagine.
in a receiving line at a funeral. I swear to God.
That ain't a bad place because it's quiet.
Right. I was at a bachelor party, and we were at a place where young women perform contemporary dance without the constraints of clothing.
Who was asking you?
No, it's some guy. Yeah,
it wasn't none of the dancers.
It wasn't one of the entertainers.
No,
but it's another guy, and I'm like, really? You're worried about your
right,
fantasy team?
right.
Like,
Fantasy Football Pregame with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
And it's the people who ask you fantasy advice at the urinal, at a funeral, or at a strip club that understand what Week 14 is all about.
This is true.
Playoffs have already started. Like, either you are in the playoffs, playing for the playoffs, playing for playoff positioning, or ruining somebody else's season.
Yeah.
But you're playing for something. You're playing for pride and nothing else.
This is a win or get in week, or you're playing for fantasy karma. Because if you can't get in,
Stakes
at
is
least
high.
make sure somebody else can't. Right? That's what's happening right now. Is like producer Steven, producer of our show, he's out of the playoffs in our show league. Just so you know, he's dead. He spent the entire season working on his team, and yet he has no postseason. So for him,
I think we got the point.
No. I just want to point out that Steven D'Agostino, who has been on this show like every single day for the entire year, who's just nothing but consume fantasy content, won't make the playoffs in our show league. I just want to be important about that. I just want everyone to. Do you think everyone now knows?
I think we get the definition of elimination.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's what producer Steven has the opportunity to do: to keep backup producer Pete out. So we are all hashtag Team Steven today. We are all rooting for Steven. Steven is trying hard today because if he beats Pete, Pete's out. Pete needs this to get in.
Let me tell you as well, Steven, so Steven's a Jags fan.
He
so he had
is.
to go through the trauma of Monday night.
Correct.
Fortunately, it looks like Trevor Lawrence is okay. Steven's car broke down this morning, and he was on the side of I-95 for a couple hours. So Steven is ready for blood.
Oh, no.
He's out for blood.
Steven ran a stupid marathon yesterday.
Yeah.
Do you understand? He ran a marathon. He
There's a lot happening for Steven lately.
Steven qualified for the New York City Marathon yesterday. Which is like you're like, oh, that's great. No, don't applaud that, because you know what that means. Now he's got to run another marathon. I mean, it's awful.
I didn't even know Steven did this.
Yes.
I didn't know he did this, so I was like, damn, he be running.
I got a question.
Yes, sir. We should probably talk about fantasy football at some point.
No, but since we talk so much about Steven, has he been on the show?
Has
he actually made an appearance? He's like Charlie's Angels type thing?
No, it's a little Charlie's Angels. He's our main producer. We love Steven.
Stan Lee.
Well, no, at this point, he needs to come on the show. Like, I think we've talked so much about him. Like, he needs to make an appearance.
His sister / fiance has made an appearance on the show.
Yeah, so somebody can look and be like, oh, that's what he looks like. Put a.
I like the mystery around it.
Did anyone watch Frasier? Am I the only one who watched Frasier? You know,
Maris,
Niles' wife, who's constantly referred to, but you never
actually see Maris. Yeah, that's
Steven is Maris.
Steven is Maris. I like that. Exactly. All right, anyway, so then you see that once again.
Steven's our top storyline. No, just kidding. As usual, we start with our top storylines. Oh, of course.
Tweet the show.
Tweet the hashtag FF Pregame to YouTube and also to Twitter or wherever you use social media. We will help you navigate this critical Week 14 decisions. So with that being said, top storyline, Matthew, fire our way.
Yeah, and by the way, dedicated to producer Steven as well. To me, I think the storyline here is this Jaguars passing attack. We saw Trevor Lawrence go down with the injury. It looked bad, looked season-ending. He was back out there. He's back out there with a brace this week. He's listed officially as questionable. I think he's going to play. And, Jay, it looks like from the line movement, it looks like DraftKings and the sports books think he's going to play as well.
Yep, line was Cleveland minus 3.5 at one point. Now it's down to 1.5. I suspect when Lawrence gets ruled in officially, it'll probably drop a little bit more.
Yeah, be a pick 'em.
So it looks like he will play. It's just what's around him, right?
And by the way,
out.
and the over/under on this moved from 33 to 37,
Yep.
33.5 to 37. So again, it looks like they're expecting Lawrence to play. I'm expecting Lawrence to play, but how good, if your first game back where you're on half a leg and you got to face the Cleveland Browns, that's not great. having said that, like the best game he had this year was on one leg against the Saints on Thursday night, maybe prior to the other day. So anyway, what's this Jaguars passing attack, whether it's Lawrence or Beathard? What does it mean for the Jaguars without Christian Kirk? Now he's done for the year. Is Parker Washington going to be a thing? Can Zay Jones emerge? Is it more Evan Ingram and Calvin Ridley? So to me, that's my top storyline is what does the Jaguars passing attack and offense look like with potentially either no Trevor Lawrence or less than 100% Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, they're also missing their starting left tackle, their backup left tackle, and they're converting a guard, Ezra Cleveland, to tackle, it looks like. So not an ideal against Myles Garrett.
No, not an ideal.
Jay, what you got?
So my question is who steps up in the Chiefs' backfield now that Isaiah Pacheco is out? Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been declared the guy. I wouldn't necessarily trust Andy Reid with that. Jerick McKinnon won a lot of people their leagues last year. Is there a redux of that potentially? So how is he going to shake out between CEH and Jerick McKinnon? And is there any other surprise in store? Michael?
Oh, come on. I was waiting for the name.
What, the next Keaton Mitchell?
No, yeah, Deneric Prince.
Preseason superstar Deneric Prince.
Come on, baby. Like Deneric Prince, next week's high pickup.
There you go, CEH right there.
All right, CEH, Chuba Hubbard, Gus Edwards, Aaron Jones, Matthew. Pick two.
Right. So for me, I'll tell you, I think Aaron Jones and Chuba Hubbard would be my guys. Here's the question, though. We don't know if Aaron Jones is going to play. That's the problem. He is a true game-time decision, and that's the Monday night game. So Chuck, if I had a pivot, like if you had like A.J. Dillon or somebody else that was playing on Monday night, if you have even Tajay Spears, something like that, I would go with Aaron Jones. He did practice somewhat this week, which is the first time we've seen him on the practice field. It's a great matchup against the Giants. So if I had the chance, I would go with Hubbard and Aaron Jones. But if I didn't have a pivot on Monday night, and I don't think we're going to know until you have to set your lineups, if we don't know and if you don't have a pivot, then for me it's Hubbard and CEH.
All right. Lawrence, your storyline.
So with the Ravens coming off the bye, we saw an increase in Keaton Mitchell's snap share, a decrease, right, in Gus Edwards' snap share. So it'll be interesting to me to see, will he get a bigger workload now that they come off the bye? He's put all the injuries behind him. They clearly know he's their most explosive weapon coming out the backfield there, and that's including Lamar Jackson. So they've dabbled with him here and there, hovering around 8 to 10 carries a game. So it'll be interesting to see, like, do they, like, now that they make the move to get on this playoff push, do they insert the rookie who's clearly a big play waiting to happen, which they've been needing in this backfield for 3 years.
That's the most suck-up storyline to Michael Smith we've had all year.
Come on.
Keaton Mitchell's your guy.
Keaton Mitchell, let's just
Keaton
call it what it
Mitchell's your
is.
guy.
No, Keaton Mitchell is my guy because he was Lawrence's guy ahead of the NFL draft. I give credit where credit is due. Lawrence put me on to Keaton Mitchell. I drafted him in rookie drafts and rolled that.
We're talking about preseason. That's fair.
That's fair. This is when I didn't know when he would be a Raven. So when he did become a Raven, I'm like, how they let them get this guy?
Yeah.
So, the injuries, I feel like, the injuries, he's been hurt twice this year. So now that, that's kind of behind him, let's see what he could really do. But you get near that goal line, it's Gus Edwards.
I'm happy to reap the benefits.
No doubt. But anyway, so good job. So I take that back, Lawrence. I take that back.
CH, McKinnon, Pierce, Mitchell, non-PPR for one running back spot, Matthew.
I'm going CEH and Mitchell. Honestly, right here. Let's break this down very quickly. Between CEH and McKinnon, I'm going with CEH. I get it. McKinnon last year won a bunch of people their fantasy leagues. Sure. We haven't seen it this year yet, and I do think that CEH has the better chance at a touchdown. If you look at that run that McKinnon did over the second half of last year, it was 9 touchdowns. Yeah. It's completely unsustainable. I don't know. They just haven't used him very much this year, so I prefer CEH to McKinnon today until we get more sort of information, just because I think CEH legit has the better chance at a touchdown if they get in close here. So then I don't think you want both Chiefs running backs here. So then it's Dameon Pierce or Keaton Mitchell.
I think it's just one spot. It says RB spot. I mean,
then
I'm
CEH, I rank them CEH, Keaton Mitchell.
Yeah.
Would be my take there.
Okay.
And then So,
but
those are the two. By the way, I have CEH at 25 and Keaton Mitchell at 26, just to give you an idea of how close this is. But I think he's got the better chance at a touchdown, CEH.
Yep. Dameon Pierce is so out of mind. I thought that was Alec Pierce initially. He just hasn't really performed.
I'm assuming it's Keaton Mitchell and not Elijah, too.
For me, my storyline is Geno Smith's groin.
Yeah,
which
sure.
Sounds,
let's talk more about it.
Let's talk more about it.
Yeah, anytime you can get into a guy's groin.
You guys are so immature. He has a groin injury.
That's correct.
Like, I'm not just arbitrarily talking about a guy.
How long have you and I known each other?
A long time.
Long time.
And
have I ever grown up?
Of course I knew it was coming.
Dude, there's a Jimmy Buffett song called Growing Older But Not Up, and that is me.
Yeah.
I'm clearly growing older, but I'm clearly not growing up.
So, as well as I do that, his groin is an issue.
It is an issue. It is. I'm concerned about his groin. I'd like to talk about his groin.
Yeah.
His groin's been examined quite a bit and discussed.
And it's trending in the wrong direction.
It's trending in the wrong direction. It's heading down.
As evidenced by the spread here.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. What is it now? It's 13.5 still? Okay, 13.5.
But it was 11. It was 11 earlier in the week.
Biggest of the week, bigger than Dolphins Titans, right?
Yep.
Biggest point spread right now. Right. Yeah. So the Niners are going to kick the Seahawks' ass, respectfully, with Drew Lock at quarterback. And my bigger point, though, is don't get caught with your pants down. See what I did there?
Yeah, with the groin thing and the ass
don't
kicking,
coach. Because, I'm telling you, quarterback is a new running back, and as we get into the playoffs here, you had better be handcuffed at quarterback or have some kind of viable alternative. So, like Drew Lock, you're going to turn up your nose at Drew Lock in San Francisco, but when it comes to the playoffs, you might want to be prepared if you're counting on Geno Smith, because who knows how long this groin injury lingers. What?
I just saw your.
Okay.
I just from the wire. I just saw. It's all right. It's so good. You have to get a shot of Michael's sweatshirt. It's so good. It just took me a second. It says crime pays, and it's the kids from the wire.
Shout out to Wallace from the wire.
There you go. There you go.
Exactly.
D'Angelo.
Got the whole crew there, man, on the couch in the courtyard.
Yeah. How good is that?
Yeah, forget my story. This is the top storyline.
Exactly.
And then again, if you're counting on DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett or the Seahawks running, it's just
that's a concern.
It doesn't look good
concern.
this week.
He's pushing to play, but they think that like in a normal week, it'd be a 2-week injury.
Correct.
It's at least and Geno, who's been inconsistent this year. By the way, and then you think about both running backs are going to play, but like I don't know that there's a guy on the Seahawks that you feel good about starting today. Just because bad
even
matchup.
With Geno, look what he did on Thanksgiving.
Right, exactly. So you've got less than 100% Geno or Drew Lock against the Niners, and then you've also got two running backs that are going to, take touches from each other in negative game script. It just
gets maybe the best team in the league.
It's not great. Yeah, not good.
Not a good look. Not a good look. All right, enough about Geno's groin. Glad you enjoyed that, buddy.
Thank you.
Good
that
to
was
be back.
good. That is, we missed you last week, brother.
Missed you guys as well. You know what else I missed? I missed the burning questions animation. But I'm told we got a question here. I'm missing this question. Hashtag FF Pregame. Thanks for the questions. Help. Number 1 overall seed on the line. There we go. Purdy versus Seattle. Josh Allen versus Kansas City.
All right. Well, listen. Thank you from hashtag Operation Juggernaut, and I get it, Haskell 420, but Haskell 420, well, he'd fit in the wire right there. I'm assuming Haskell's his last name, and 420 is something he enjoys doing. I'm going to say Josh Allen. Look, I don't think you can screw this up because I think Purdy is going to have a monster game as well. But I want as much a part as that Chiefs-Bills game as I can get. Yeah. So Josh Allen is literally he's been a lot better since Joe Brady took over as the
plus you get the rushing upside too with Josh Allen there. That's always going to come with him.
But Operation Juggernaut, I literally have Allen at 2 and Purdy at 4, just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with.
There is a chance Brock Purdy will not throw a pass in the fourth quarter. Is the one thing there, whereas Josh Allen will be throwing in the fourth.
Yeah, and he has rushing upside, as Michael mentioned. So
it was Lawrence I mentioned it, but that's
sorry.
okay.
I was watching. I was looking at the screen.
No,
I just knew it wasn't an Australian accent, so I had a 1-2 chance getting it right.
Minus 110 each side. Lawrence v. Michael.
It's okay. All right, we ready for burning questions now? This is off to a rousing start.
Oh
no!
Oh, they got me coming in from the top rope with the scarf on.
Look at you!
Whoa!
Got me looking like cocaine
Why
cowboy.
am I a woman? I have a woman's hand.
You do have a woman's hand.
At least you have a body. I'm just a floating head.
You're a floating head.
Jay Croucher with the nice mannerisms.
I'm off to the side looking at like some calf or something like that. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where I'm looking at.
Where is this from? Is this like from a movie thing or something?
I don't know. Well, that they took my Twitter profile picture, and that's what I am. I don't know what the rest of these are.
Yeah.
I don't know where they got Jay's picture. It's clearly not from the Bet the Edge promo where he looks like this unshaven hobo. Yeah, Lawrence looks angry.
I believe
Very
that's
angry.
taken
That's
from.
the
Well, we
picture
buy
always use for
fire.
that.
I'm pretty angry. We buy the
But you in, baby.
I believe this
You
is
in.
from Django Unchained, just before these 4 characters die.
Might be.
That's my
I was
belief.
just watching that last
Yeah.
night.
Lawrence looks like somebody just said something bad about Desmond Ritter.
Oh my goodness.
So his normal expression.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Just the scowl.
Yeah.
Sunday night football, Cowboys, Eagles. So many fantasy players and storylines to choose from, including the return of Dallas Goedert. How does that impact, positively or negatively, as it were, the Eagles passing game, Matthew?
I think it hurts Devontae Smith. We've talked about this. Smith was very inconsistent prior to Goddard going down. He's been terrific with Goddard out, but so far this year, when Dallas Goedert's been in the lineup, there's been 9 games. He's averaging 13.3 fantasy points per game, 21% target share, under 60 receiving yards a game. Keep this in mind. So 13.3 with Goddard, but without Goddard in the last 3 games, 21.4 fantasy points per game, a 30% target share compared with 21%. He's averaging 100 receiving yards a game compared with 59. So, in essence, across the board, Devontae Smith's numbers are much worse without Dallas Goedert. They're facing the Cowboys. We don't think the Cowboys defense is the quote Cowboys defense in all capital letters. Like, they've had some injuries. You can throw on them, and they have guys that'll take chances. So Smith is always a chance that he can catch one and he's off to the races. But certainly I would lower expectations for Devontae Smith. He's my wide receiver 22. This is a guy that's been as hot. He's outside my top 20 again because of Goddard being in the lineup here.
Yep, I think this was probably the offense that was the most concentrated in the passing game to just 2 guys. Like, it was just A.J. Brown or it was Devontae Smith. Now there's a third guy, and Dallas Goedert. And we'll see what his health is like. I don't think he's going to be 100%, but he should be good enough to be useful. The other thing, the sneaky thing with Goddard is he's an awesome run-blocking tight end, and I think this will really help free up their run game, which has kind of been stuck in mud the past few weeks.
Yeah, that's a good point you bring up there, Jay. That's what I was going to bring up. In the run game, that'll help a lot more. They've been using Jack Stoll at the tight end, who, they don't use him when Dallas Goedert is out. 2 catches for 17 yards in the 3 games that Goddard was out. So clearly they see a difference, and we all see a difference in just the talent level there. So Goddard just being back is good, definitely for that running game. Jalen Hurts himself, he's been a top 3 quarterback in fantasy with Goddard and without him, so it won't change much there, but definitely in the run game and just another added weapon for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, fascinating to see as well just how Dallas go about rushing Jalen Hurts after what the Niners did, where the Niners, they were very measured in their pass rush. They weren't just trying to beat their man and get to the outside. They were just all just compressing the pocket, not letting Jalen Hurts run up the middle, and they really suffered. Hurts, he took multiple sacks where he had like 8 seconds to get rid of the ball. So I'm wondering if Dallas go, I'm wondering if Jalen Hurts has been not solved because he's too good, but whether he's been solved to an extent.
So to that point, he doesn't look very fast when he's running, but he's got good vision against the Buffalo Bills. He showed that running the ball. So, but the San Francisco 49ers saw that, corrected it. He wasn't able to run as much.
Pick 2 for standard scoring, please. Jalen Waddle, Cris Olave, and the aforementioned Devontae Smith.
It's Waddle and Olave for me. Again, even with Derek Carr starting, we prefer Winston, but Olave's been putting up numbers with Carr there as well. We just talked about Devontae Smith. Again, all 3 inside my top 22, but Waddle and Olave. I just don't know how you deny the Dolphins' passing attacks. Then it really becomes Olave versus Devontae Smith, and it's close, but I'm going with Olave.
Okay. Let's move on to Buffalo and Kansas City. You talked about wanting any part of this shootout that you can get, Matthew. You want to hone in on James Cook, your RB14 there, and your thoughts on his role.
Yeah, look, since Joe Brady took over as the offense coordinator, he's had a pretty big role. He's averaging 21 touches a game. He's got a 14% target share. And oh, by the way, that was, if you remember that first game, like he had the drop.
Against the Eagles, down the left sideline.
Down the left side.
Like a 35-yard touchdown?
Right, his numbers would have even been bigger. I'm sorry, he had his first game, he had the fumble, and he missed a series. They took him out for a series, basically. And then last week, he missed the last game, he could have had that catch down the sideline, which would have been a 35-yard touchdown. So, the numbers are really good. He's had over 100 yards from scrimmage in both games under Brady so far this year, but it could have been even bigger. There's a couple of plays there that you're just like, oh, man. last 4 weeks, the Kansas City Chiefs allow 5.3 yards per carry to opposing running backs. That's third highest in the NFL. And so Cook, who comes out of the bye here, to me, in a high-scoring game, I really like him a lot. I'm at running back 14. He made the love list this week, guys. I think James Cook is due. I think James Cook is gonna wait for it. Cook. That's right. Woo. That's right. God bless.
Got him.
Dad, is it too early for dad jokes? I don't think it is.
3 out of 10.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So
3
that
out
game,
of 10.
that game
That's
is
what I
now-
was aiming for.
Yeah, it's above the 2.5 over
Yeah,
under.
yeah, of course.
Well, speaking
They're
of
not all winners.
Speaking of odds,
It's week 14. You'll get the jokes you get.
that game is.
I wanted to give him the silent treatment. Just
Yeah.
Second.
Michael, not giving me any reaction at all. It's fine. It's fine. I don't care. You know what?
You don't need
I'm going to use
validation.
that joke again.
Yeah,
How
you
about them apples? What do you think about that? I'm going to use that joke again.
It's like you're looking at the screen as though the screen will support you somehow, but it's just us. It's just us, and we're not supporting
Well, it's
you.
people at home.
Focused.
People at home.
Yeah.
People at home.
That game is trending towards pick. Bills in Kansas City. This KC defense is not what it was a month ago. You can run on Kansas City, to your point, Matthew. They are really banged up at the moment. And James Cook, yeah, I mean, we've seen the talent. It's just been, to your point, a couple of missed plays, and there would be a lot more buzz about Cook.
The Bills should just let James Cook rush for his 1,000 yards in peace. And you mentioned running up against the Chiefs. A.J. Dillon, who have we seen him have any really good games this year? He had 18 carries for 73 against this Chiefs defense last week. Let's go, James Cook.
All right. What's up, David? James Cook or Devontae Smith?
So was DeAndre yet?
DeAndre Smith, excuse me. Laporta or T.J. Hawkinson?
Okay. I don't think you can screw up the tight ends, but give me Hawkinson. I like that game. You'll hear me talk about that in a little bit. And then we just talked up James Cook. So Cook and Hawkinson for me. I'm nervous about Swift against this.
Yeah.
Again, they haven't used him in the passing game recently. Swift, they haven't used him a lot. He left the last game, banged up. Now, he isn't on the injury report. That doesn't mean he's 100% healthy. We know how that goes sometimes. And so in a game in which the Eagles are 3.5-point underdogs and might be trailing by more, like, I have no confidence at all in the Eagles' defense.
Yeah.
And as well as the Cowboys offense is playing. So there's a chance that they're in negative game script fairly early in this one, in which case I'm nervous about Swift not getting the kind of run. Cowboys have such a good run defense, and if he's not really getting involved in the passing attack, right, then you get sort of nervous about that.
All right.
Anyway, that's my take there.
Sweet. Let's move on to Minnesota, Las Vegas. Minnesota coming off the bye. Josh Dobbs remaining the starting quarterback. And look
What's his name?
Dobby.
Thank you.
And look who's back, Justin Jefferson.
I've heard of him.
It's been a minute. How we've missed you. How does his return impact the Vikings offense?
It helps.
You think?
Just a little, right?
Hashtag analysis. It helps a lot, honestly. Helps a lot. Look, here's Josh Dobbs had this quote about Jefferson's return. Quote, for me, you got to play good, clean, efficient football. Can't go forcing balls because teams are going to have plans for Justin Jefferson. Fine. But the fact of the matter is that they because of Hawkinson, because of the emergence of Jordan Addison, because candidly can't run the ball. Like, I think I like the over in 40 points. It's moved up to 40.5 in some places, but I like the over in this game. I think I think Josh Dobbs has a very nice game here. We'll talk about that in a second. But he had played 4 full healthy games this year. Justin Jefferson, 135 receiving yards. That's what he averaged.
Yeah.
Like,
crazy.
Look, I think it's good. I'm at wide receiver 10 just because you want to see it back. But like everyone that has Justin Jefferson, I'm starting him, and I don't care if you're. I mean, like,
no question.
He's Justin Jefferson.
He's down there somewhere.
He's down. It's 1,000%. 1,000%.
Jefferson,
I'm not getting cute. You're starting Justin Jefferson today. I know we haven't seen it in a while.
In those first 4 games, he's the only receiver who had more fantasy points than the great Tyreek Hill. So take that into consideration if you need any more convincing to put Justin Jefferson in your lineup.
Hopefully just in the nick of time. All right. I need to sit one. Eckler, Mostert, Bijan, Madison.
Yeah, for me, I think it's Alexander Madison. We just talked about this. The Raiders actually have believe it or not, a decent run defense. They're a top 8 run defense over the last month. Madison's basically been split in time with Ty Chandler. You just heard me talk about this. I don't think they'll be able to run the ball effectively. I get it because Eckler has been it's been tough.
Yeah,
it's definitely been very tough with Eckler, so I get the question. Mostert and Bijan to me are the no-brainers, but I think the odds of Eckler getting to the end zone are better than Madison as well. I think Eckler's just a better running back. Even he's clearly less than 100%, but I think he's more talented. So Madison is who I would sit.
Speaking of Eckler, ominous comments. Am I using that right?
Sure.
Ominous comments from Brandon Staley coming out of Los Angeles regarding the running back split.
Just with the running game, is there any thought to giving Josh Kelly more touches just to see if he can spark something, just considering the way things are going right now? Or are you going to stick with the same split there?
Yeah, Daniel, competition. Yeah, I think competition for carries is going to be something that you can see happening. And I think you've seen it on defense, competing for opportunities. So, like I said, when I keep searching, we're gonna keep exploring, making adjustments so that we can find, that rhythm that I've been talking about. And that's certainly one way to do it.
It's not what one would expect with regard to one Austin Eckler. He's still your RB12, but how concerned are you when you hear that from Brandon Staley? Matthew?
Honestly, very concerned. I'm less concerned about Josh Kelly because I don't think Josh Kelly is very good. But I am concerned about the fact that, Staley's trying to do anything to sort of get this team going. And the one thing that while Eckler has struggled, you've been able to at least bank on touches for him, like in terms of volume. He's had 3 straight games with single-digit fantasy points, fewer than 70 total yards in 4 of the last 5. He's averaging under 5 yards per touch, which he's never done in a season before. Yeah, so it's just he doesn't look right. He doesn't look like the guy that we all drafted so high. He looks like he's playing through something as well. If there's a positive here, I think these comments potentially could motivate him as well. Broncos give up 5.6 yards per carry to opposing running backs. That's the most in the NFL. So I'm banking on sort of talent and that's more volume, and that they even if they try to give the ball to Josh Kelly, they're like, oh, there's a reason why we don't give the ball to Josh Kelly.
What's always been the thing for Eckler in fantasy terms, it's always been the volume. Like, he had a season where he caught 107 passes. Like, that's a top 5 running back every week. But that's not the type of volume he's been getting recently. The past 3 weeks, he's been running back 44. He's coming off a game running back 44 the last 3 weeks, and he's coming off a performance with 14 carries for 18 yards. I wrote this week in my article that that's like the statistics you expect from like an NBA center, right? You get the double-double right there. But just the offense as a whole, you heard Staley say he's trying to get a spark. Justin Herbert, quarterback 19 in those same 3 weeks on a points per game basis. They've scored 36 points in the last 3 games since that shootout with the Lions. So they just got to get something going. So I kind of see why Staley's like, we just need to try something. So I don't even think it's an indictment on Austin Eckler saying like, oh, we think Josh Kelly's better than him or as good as him now. They just got to do something.
The concern is that it's even a discussion because it's not like Jaylen Warren is the backup and there's some explosive guy who can get more work. Like, it's Josh Kelly. We know what Josh Kelly is. He's not.
We saw him as the feature guy.
Yes, it didn't work. And this offense at the moment just seems a bit broken. I mean, the Patriots' defense is sneakily okay. And there was weather last week, but, I mean, they scored 6 points. It's a joke. So they just need a spark.
All right, we need 100%. Some shots.
Yeah, we definitely need some shots, by the way. And inactives are starting to roll in as well. We're going to get to those as well. But one that just sort of that came in that's interesting, Vita Vea is going to be out for the Buccaneers. So full steam ahead for Bijan Robinson. That's a big loss for the Bucs run.
Literally and figuratively. All right, Matthew, you're up. What's your first shot?
All right, let me figure out here's my Viking shot glass as well. Josh Dobbs. Dobby, the Pastronaut, bounces back, finishes the top 15 quarterback this week, high-end QB2, low-end QB1. Prior to Week 12, Dobbs had at least 22 fantasy points in 3 of his previous 4. He gets Justin Jefferson back. It's not a tough matchup against that Vegas secondary. Welcome back, Josh Dobbs.
Okay.
I'm starting him.
My first shot, I'm saying CJ Stroud has his worst game as a pro, and the Jets cover +3. Stroud's amazing. He's a top 10 quarterback in football already. Hasn't had to do it against many great defenses, and the Jets might be the best defense of all.
All right, Lawrence?
I'm going to start off with Justin Fields here. I'm going to say he goes for at least 70 rushing yards, which is +110 on the alt line. And the Bears win at home. They beat the Lions this time. They couldn't hang on the last time, but last meeting a couple of weeks ago, he ran for 104, and his rushing prop is 64. That is high. So I'm saying he's going 70, and the Bears win.
Can Justin Fields save something for my man Roschon Johnson?
Roschon will get the touchdown. He'll get a little touchdown.
Is Roschon for real this time? Like, how long have we been calling Roschon Johnson?
9 weeks.
You know what I'm saying? For real this time. For real.
It's
Coming out of the bye,
today.
he had the majority of the snaps before the bye.
Without Deontay Foreman. Don't be surprised when Deontay Foreman gets 20 touches
Damn
today.
it, Matthew. Just come on.
I'm
This
just
has
telling
got to be
you,
the
I'm
week.
just
This
telling
is
you.
it.
I'm like, I want no
real.
part of that backfield because you just don't know. But like,
this is
nothing
it.
would surprise me with the Bears backfield. That's what I'm gonna say. It's like Deontay Foreman getting 3 touches or 20. Would not shock me.
This
But
is
all right,
it. This
here
is
we
it.
go. This is Roschon
Cheers,
Johnson's
Rashad.
week. All right, fair enough.
For real this time.
Yeah. All
Back
right,
to you.
my second one. All right, listen. I get it. All right. I'm holding up a Colts shot glass. I get it. Zach Moss was not good last week, but Zach Moss gets back on track, finishes the top 5 fantasy running back this week. Bengals have allowed a rushing touchdown to a running back in 4 straight. 8 of their past 9. Zach Moss is going to get 20 touches, if not more, in this game. Zach Moss, I get it. He burned you last week. He's back for me. Top 5 play today.
Okay, my next one. Browning sanity continues, and the Bengals cover -2.5 home to a suspect Colts defense.
Browning Saturday. I like it.
Yeah. Jake Browning.
You know what, man?
He's in my DraftKings lineup.
Shout
today.
out to these New York Jets. Shout out to Connor Rogers. I know you don't believe, but we believe here in Zach Wilson. I say he throws for at least 1 touchdown.
Okay,
in
let's
the
go.
Bold.
Jets.
At
Hey,
least
that is -135, by the way.
At least one.
At least 1 touchdown. Look,
That sounds like there's room for more.
He hasn't had a touchdown in a long
look,
time.
in 3 straight games, in 3 straight games, the Texans have allowed a quarterback to throw for 1 and run for 1 in 3 straight games. So Zach Wilson will throw at least 1, and the Jets win in the game.
I
like it.
Yep.
Man, that's
Zach Wilson.
Let's
is,
go, Zach.
Zach
Then I
Wilson
can wear
is-
the shirt again.
Zach Wilson is in effort mode. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
He should
he's
be.
like,
Let it fly.
I lost my job at Tim Boyle. Like, what am I gonna? Like,
what's the worst y'all can do to me now?
Exactly
you
now.
You said
I don't
you
care.
said I don't want the job, so
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what?
I'm gonna let it fly.
All
F it.
right. Odell Beckham. Saw him get a touchdown against one of his former teams earlier this year in the Browns. I think he gets another one against one of his former teams. This would be the Rams. Starting to really round into form, is he not? You know
Yes,
what I
he
mean?
is.
Yeah,
I'm
so
with you.
Odell Beckham.
Yeah,
Touchdown
yeah.
for OBJ.
He looked spry the last
Yeah.
time we saw him. We talked about that. He looked kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that guy.
Yeah.
All right, my last one is sort of hinted at. You saw it earlier, but James Cook cooks against the Chiefs. I told you I was
you
going to
ran
use
it
that
back.
joke again. You're
You
damn
ran it
right.
back.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
interesting.
Keep making fun of it. I'll keep using that joke because I don't care.
What's a bad movie
I don't
that
care.
didn't get
I'm
remade?
Zach Wilson here with my
John
dad
Tucker
jokes.
Must Die? Did they make another one of that?
What?
Just wondering about bad movies that didn't get remade.
Yeah.
But you remade yours.
I did make mine, 1,000%. You know, another bad movie that got remade, Star is Born. That's right. I will go to my
don't
grave
know
on that.
why
I
you
will
think
die
that's
on
a
that
bad
hill.
movie. It's a
That
great
is
film.
it's a bad
It's
movie.
an outstanding piece of cinema.
It's
You're
an
dead
awful
wrong.
movie. I
Dead
will.
wrong.
I will.
Awful
I,
movie?
Yeah. I don't want to
Not
derail
your
the.
cup. No, you don't want to derail this show.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
Show's
your
derailed.
not your cup of tea is
Starring
one
Clive
thing,
Owen.
but awful movie.
Awful movie. It's awful.
It's very strange.
It glorifies
Build it.
suicide. That movie glorifies suicide. I will
well,
die
for
on
that
my hill
reason,
about
well,
that.
yeah.
It glorifies suicide. Anyway, James Cook is cooking today against the Chiefs. There you go. I hate that movie. I hate that movie.
So many things I like about you, but
Yeah, we can unpack that
really?
one on Monday's show.
no, we need to like go out for some real shots in this.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I feel the
You've
same
seen
way
the
about
movie, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like we're past the point of
It's no spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I haven't
exactly.
seen it, and I never will.
Yeah,
So go right ahead.
No, but that's what the first 2 acts are all about her.
Yes.
And the third act is all about him.
Bradley
and it
Cooper.
becomes all about Bradley Cooper and becomes very much I want to win an Oscar. And I like Bradley Cooper, by the way. I think he's super talented.
great.
But the third act basically his suicide is what allows her to become a star.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly selfish act. It's an incredibly selfish act. And it glorifies it like that's an answer. That's the answer to his problems, and it becomes all about him in the third act.
Okay.
It's Like, I
they
will
put
die
it
on
on the
this hill. It's a.
I'm gonna go back.
She's
and watch
brilliant
It.
in it. She's brilliant in it, and there's like some great scenes, and the acting is great. But the third act,
Okay.
I hate that movie with such a fiery passion.
Yeah, clearly. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Crash. You know, the film
Okay.
Crash, I feel like
I've never seen Crash, but I
it's
know.
like a similar
Come on,
thing.
with
where it's
Andy
like-
Newton and
Yeah, it's like it's very
Matt
well
Dillon?
done, but the message is like anyway. Crash is my version of that.
Yes.
I think there'll be
where were we?
a lot of.
I told
Say
you
who
guys.
turn it is. Hey,
I'm
look,
not-
hey,
you guys
look,
know this. I was like-
Matthew does this a lot, and he warned you.
I
He
said
warned
I
you.
don't want to derail the show, and then
The
you
show
know.
is its default position is derailed.
Yes.
That's the appeal
Well,
of this show.
That's also true.
Stars will be born in Atlanta, and there'll be a lot of people crashing into the end zone because I think Bucks Falcons is an unlikely shootout. 50-plus points scored. The total's only 41. Just a lot of guys missing on both of these defenses in the dome. I think this goes handily over.
Lawrence.
Shout out to Atlanta. All right, there we go. Eagles is down and out. They just got whooped by the 49ers. You lose this game, you lose control of the 1 seed. But I think that Jalen Hurts and the Eagles will bounce back. He will bounce back as well with 3 TDs, and this time they won't be garbage time TDs. They win as minus 3.5 point dogs against Dallas.
Do not agree with that at all.
Hey, Matthew,
Yes, sir.
get in on this one with me. Okay?
All right, here we go. What we got?
Brandon Cooks.
Uh-huh.
Cooks.
There we go. There we go. Welcome aboard. Well, you're a dad. You're allowed with that joke. You're a dad
Give me
like
2
me.
touchdowns for
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks. Last time, I think
Oh,
on
we had
1
4.
pass against the Eagles. Give me 2 touchdowns for Brandon. He's on a roll
Okay.
lately. Give
I
me 2
like
touchdowns for
that.
Brandon
All
Cooks.
right, that's a shot.
Yeah.
Damn.
Mm.
Yeah. All of us are dads at this table, actually. So everyone's
Correct.
allowed to make that make that
Just,
joke.
you know, dads at different generations, you know.
Yes, this is fair.
All dads nonetheless.
Yeah, all dads nonetheless. All right, look at this.
Stretch Armstrong himself, Trevor Lawrence, will start today against the Cleveland Browns. Dude might be indestructible.
We told you he has never missed a game,
pliable.
college, high school, or the pros. He has never missed a game.
Oh.
Is he winning against this?
Eat
though?
your heart out, Bills Mafia breaking tables.
Right.
We bowled it. Is that a keg or a trash can?
This is a keg.
That's a keg?
That is
Yeah.
That's a
definitely
keg,
a keg
obviously.
right there.
That's our. Hey, Michael, look who tweeted that. That's our old friend Sarah
Hey, Sarah.
Walsh.
How are
We
you?
love Sarah. There you go. Look at that.
Might as well get the band back together now.
Right? This is fantastic.
How long have they been doing that?
That's pretty good.
I've never seen that before.
It's unbelievable.
That's. I want to bet on that.
I want to talk more about A Star Is Born.
Okay.
Is that like a transformer pulling up to the Superdome?
It's Optimus Kamara.
Wow.
Oh, I like that.
Alvin Kamara, like that looks like a guy ready to do some work. And let me tell you, ain't no Taysom Hill and the Vultures goal line touchdowns today.
I feel like that's not a parking spot.
Probably not, which is why you need those fancy lights, man.
This is
Okay,
ridiculous.
okay, AK, not mad at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, no Taysom Hill, so gonna need a lot of Alvin Kamara.
I guess when you're a PPR merchant, you get valet service when you rock up to the game.
All right, there are your inactives for the early games. Trevor Lawrence, Derek Carr, both active at quarterback. Etienne Hall, both those running backs are active. Chris Olave, Amari Cooper, Noah Brown, Tyler Boyd, all active. And as we mentioned, Taysom Hill is joined by Dalton Schultz as notable tight ends who are inactive. If you're looking to the waiver wire for some help, specifically at running back, I already shouted out Roschon Johnson.
Yes, you did.
Tajay Spears, we thought he was going to be RB1 this week the way it looked last Sunday.
What's a longer streak, do you think, Michael?
What's
Cal
that?
Ripken's streak of never missing a game,
Or
us mentioning Tajay Spears on deep
really.
running back waiver.
Jeez, he looked good against the Colts. He's very fast.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, listen.
Like, should it incrementally have gotten him past this threshold to be available?
All we'll say about Tajay Spears is that he's got almost a 14% target share on the season. Titans are basically a 2-touchdown underdog. It's 13 now against the Dolphins on Monday night. I'm starting Tajay Spears in a league because also it was him or I've been banged up. It's him or Charbonnet, and I'm like, I think it'll be negative game script, and I'd rather I'd rather have some rooting interest on Monday night, and I don't like Charbonnet against San Francisco. I think Tajay Spears is going to get some run because in games in which they've been down, they've used him quite a bit as well. McKinnon and Gainwell also guys in high-scoring games.
All right, moving on to the wide receiver deep waiver ads. Elijah Moore, a lot of buzz around him, but again, Amari Cooper is active. I mentioned Odell Beckham. Who else you like?
Yeah, well, just on Elijah Moore real quickly for a second there. They haven't announced yet who's going to start for the Browns. Both Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Joe Flacco are active. But Flacco took the first-team reps in practice. And
he likes Elijah Moore.
He's the guy that met with the media. It's going to be Joe Flacco, I believe. The Browns are just trying to be cute or whatever. Jonathan Mingo, I think, is pretty interesting here. We've talked a lot about him on Fantasy Football Happy Hour this week as well. But since Week 10, he's had at least 6 targets, and every single game, a 26% target share. Adam Thielen isn't doing much. You don't love the matchup at New Orleans, but I don't know how much it scares you either. Like, the Saints aren't as scary a defense, especially ever since they lost they lost Lattimore. So anyway, there you go. And then Dontavian Wicks as well. Christian Watson officially out for a Monday night. Wicks has had 5 straight games with a double-digit target share. You love the matchup against the Giants.
All right. Who do you love among the available quarterbacks and tight ends? I know you love Dobbs. You already called a top 15 performance for him. Was it Browning Sanity?
Browning Sanity.
Yeah.
Yes. Because Dobbs Sanity kind of hit a little bit of a speed bump against Chicago.
Yeah.
Isaiah Likely, again, whatever. He was 4 for 40 in the first game he got without Andrews, but they didn't do much in the passing attack here. Off the bye at home against the Rams, I think he'll be okay. In games in which he's gotten at least 5 targets, he's averaging over 12 fantasy points per game. I expect he gets 5 targets today. And no team in the NFL allows more yards to tight ends than the Denver Broncos. So Gerald Everett suddenly in play. Brevin Jordan with no Dalton Schultz. The Jets, because Reed and Gardner are so good on the corners, the middle of the field is where you often try to look.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah, I'm always ready. Oh, for this.
Oh, we got questions first before we start
Yeah.
throwing Aaron passes. Who's a better flex play this week, Aaron Jones
Packers.
/ A.J. Dillon or Adam Thielen?
Packers.
Either of the Packers?
I just think the upside of Aaron Jones against the Giants is worth rolling the dice rather than Thielen. I get it. If Thielen's going to the Saints struggle against the slot, but I don't know.
Standing up again, I say.
I am. You're damn right.
How'd that work for you last week? I missed
It worked out good. I made it last
you
week.
did make it.
I did make it.
Did you complete a
touchdoon.
pass or was it interception?
No, I actually.
Because you've been
completed
counting
a pass.
interceptions.
Sometimes I do. The problem is because where the hole is like over here. So go ahead.
All right,
Very close.
Very close.
Lawrence, you want to go?
I'll go. It's three misses in a row for me. I can't be QB1 no more.
Hi, Michael. Not even close.
I think that's the first time we went 0 for 4 in a while.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I feel like that's every second week.
The truth of the matter is that we used to have a basketball for Papa Shot. We went with the football because we're a football show,
which makes sense.
I know, but Papa Shot is a basketball game, and
to bring it back.
Candidly, it's easier for us to make that.
Were you any good at that either?
I
was very good at Papa.
I don't recall.
We're all great basketball players.
Yeah, exactly.
Not great football
100%.
players, except for Lawrence.
Well, I'm just happy you made that excuse for all of us, so I'm appreciative of that. So, yeah.
I got you.
What he
My
said.
friend.
Jay,
Got you, my friend.
Christian McCaffrey, yards from scrimmage, over under 114.5.
You're going to take the over here. This is the one defense that Brock Purdy has really struggled against recently. So I think that they'll run on the ground. They're 13.5-point favorites, so game script should be very favorable.
Lawrence, Chuba Hubbard's rushing yards, over under 56.5.
You know what it looked like for a while? Miles Sanders was making this a committee, but last week Chuba Hubbard had a career-high 25 carries. Now he's going against the Saints, who do have the 9th worst rushing defense. They've allowed this number to a running back 4 out in the last 5 games. I'm going over for Chuba.
Matthew, Sun God, receiving yards, over under 72.5.
Come on, it's my ride or die. I'm on Rob. Of course, I'm going over. He's been over this number in every game over the past 7 except one. 6 of the last 7, he's hit this number. Including against Chicago, he had 8 for 77 and a touchdown on 11 targets in his first matchup with the Bears. Give me the over on 72.5 receiving yards for Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Jay, Patrick Mahomes passing and rushing yards, over under 309.5.
I'm going to take the over. He's not going to get much help from his running game, I think. I think this is going to have to be a Mahomes Superman game. He'll be throwing a ton to keep up with Josh Allen.
All right. Lawrence, T. Higgins receptions, over under 3.5.
Man, this is crazy. You're going to sweat this one, but I'm going to say over. Even though he only had 3 catches in Week 13, he'll play more than the 78% snaps that he played last week. He's now further removed from the injury. Plus, this game's got an over-under of 44, and he cleared this number twice before that last injury, so I'll go over.
Matthew, Bijan Robinson's rushing yards, over under 68.5.
If Vita Vea were playing, I would take the under here, but because he is out, I'm taking the over here. He's gone over this number 2 of the last 3 games as well. Jay, you talked about this earlier. We expect this to be a shootout and for both teams to be able to move the ball. So Bijan Robinson, who's suddenly getting 19, 20 touches a game, give me the over on 68.5 against the Bucs.
Jay, Puka Nakua's receiving yards, over under 55.5.
Going under here, some weather in Baltimore. Really tough matchup for Stafford. Expecting a lot of rain. Also don't agree. This line is 10 yards higher than Cooper Kupp. I don't agree with that. They should have very much the same line, I think.
Lawrence, we talked about him at length earlier. Austin Eckler's yards from scrimmage, over under 80.5 for, did you say RB44 the last 3
Since
weeks?
Week 3, yeah. And in his last 5 games, he's only hit this 80.5 once in his last 5 games. Denver themselves haven't allowed this in 2 straight games, despite them giving up the most points to running backs in fantasy. Then you add Josh Kelly and his new, I guess, role or whatever. So I'm going to go under on that.
Matthew, Josh Jacobs rushing attempts, over under 18.5. Game script question.
Yeah, and the Vikings are only 3-point favorites in this one as well. I'm going to go over. Since Antonio Pierce took over as the interim coach of the Raiders, Josh Jacobs had at least 20 rushes in 3 of the 4 games here. I expect them to keep it sort of close. They're at home off of the bye. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for the Vikings. So I think Pierce just rides Jacobs again. Give me the over on 18.5 rushing attempts.
Jay, with no
love the bet, but I'm taking the over.
Jay, with no Tank Dallas at the Nico show, over under 5.5 receptions.
Going under here, he may get there through volume alone, but I just think he's going to be matched up outside against DJ Reed or Sauce Gardner, those guys who not give up receptions. I think it's going to be a big Noah Brown day out of the slot.
Okay. Lawrence, Joe Flacco pass completions, over under 18.5.
This was the same number last week. I went over. He went over, but this is a game script question as well. But that over-under for this game jumped 4 points just because of Trevor Lawrence, not because of anything having to do with Joe Flacco. It's still only 37.5. So this week, I'm going to go under 18.5.
And lastly, Matthew, Dak Prescott's passing yards on Sunday Night Football, over under 301.5.
Yeah, I'm going over. Look, 4 of the past 5 games, the Eagles have given up over 300 passing yards. Dak's thrown for at least 304 of the past 6 games, including Philadelphia in Week 9, where he threw for 374. Remember, Cowboys played Thursday night. They've had 10 days to prepare for this huge matchup in the NFC East against the Eagles. This is a very important game to both teams, but especially the Cowboys for their seasons. They've got a shot at the number 1 seed in the NFC, but they've got to win this game to keep those hopes alive.
All right, don't forget on DraftKings Sportsbook this season, new customers can bet $5 in pocket, $150 in bonus bets instantly, plus all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every day. Download the app and use the promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. And now the time is yours, because we're going to get to some more of your questions to either YouTube or the hashtag FFPregame on social.
Yeah, look at this.
David Dean says, thanks for the advice. We follow you every week at the fire station.
That's what I was just saying. Thank you very much. Like,
Yes,
that's
awesome.
like,
For sure, yeah.
again, no, these guys fight fire.
Yes.
Like, we wear makeup and talk about fake football on
Yes.
TV.
Right.
Like, David Dean's a real man.
Yeah.
We are not.
We talk about Noah Brown.
Exactly. In makeup. So anyway, David Dean, thank you very much for your bravery for the people of Houston. I grew up in College Station, about 90 miles away from Houston, so appreciate that. All right. I don't think people know about your props yet. Do you like Dallas and Baltimore team totals over? Thanks again from Houston. I definitely like the Dallas team total over. Baltimore, I don't know what that line is off the top of my head. I'll tell you this much. This is the other thing, David, what I will tell you. When I have a betting question that I don't know, here's one of the secrets to my success. I'm being honest. Don't tell anyone else. But what I mostly do is I just text Jay, and I just like, yo. So my buddy David wants to know Baltimore team total. Do you like the over there? And then Jay will give me an answer, and then I'll pretend it's my own. So
the team total is 24.5. I kind of like the under there with all the weather that's going on. David, this Rams defense isn't great, but it has been improved lately. So and Baltimore really struggled against the Chargers, who don't have a very good defense. They had 20 in that game. So yeah, give me the under on the Baltimore team.
So anyway, my answer there specifically is I like the under on the Baltimore team total, but I do like the over on the Dallas team total. It's 27.5, and I do think that's a shootout. So I don't see how the Cowboys don't get to at least 4 touchdowns tonight.
H.N.
Oh, listen, can't guard Mike. What do you? He's
back.
on the bench. Yeah.
He's on IR.
Starting H.N. and Moss in a half-point PPR, needs a flex, Barkley, Swift, or Javonte Williams?
I assume it's
Hopefully not
Javonte over Jamal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how you go away from Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, it's going to be Saquon.
Yeah. It's Saquon.
Saquon is the flex here?
Apparently.
That's
He's
pretty-
got
that's pretty
H.N.
strong.
and Moss.
H.N. and Moss.
But like I have all 3 guys in my top 10 there. So yeah.
Okay.
It's fairly clear.
All right, need to win a security playoff spot. 1 running back and 1 flex in PPR. Ford, CEH, Gabe Davis, Jaden Reed. 1 running backs, 1 flex, Matthew.
All right, so the running backs are Ford and CEH. So between them, I prefer CEH. You know, and in terms of the flex, I'm gonna say Jaden Reed.
Jaden.
Guess Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis, I think, is the ceiling play.
Yeah.
Again, he did literally score 4 touchdowns against this team once upon a time.
Yeah. I'll just tell you real quickly. I have Gabe Davis at wide receiver 30. I have Jaden Reed at 36. Watson's out. They're facing the Giants. I will say this. I think there's a much greater likelihood of, I think in terms of who passes the ball more this weekend, Josh Allen or Jordan Love. I think it's Josh Allen because I don't think Jordan Love's going to have to throw that much against the Giants. You could see a defensive score there as well. Aaron Jones is back, so I think they'll be more balanced on offense for Green Bay and New York. And then I think you'll see L'Jarius Sneed on Stephon Diggs. I don't know that it matters. He's Stephon Diggs, but still, you could see maybe some more targets to Gabe Davis as a result of that. So, CEH and Gabe Davis, and you're really interested in that league.
Guillotine League down
Love
to
it.
6 teams. Concerns over Etienne against Cleveland. Is this individual crazy to start Chuba Hubbard over Etienne? What about Cortland Sutton versus Rashee Rice in the flex?
All right, so you're not crazy. You're not crazy. Guillotine will do kind of different things.
Are you still in that Guillotine League?
No, I died.
Oh, did you?
No, I'm dead.
That's as of last week, because
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
You just recently passed away.
Yeah, this past week because I
you were
started
in it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah.
Zach Moss. I started Zach Moss, Austin Eckler, and whatever. It's all Denny Carter's fault. But no, like the 3 biggest disappointments from last week, like Zach Moss, Austin Eckler, and now I'm blanking on whoever it was, but like whatever. Just I got a total of like 5 points from like those guys, and just what are you gonna do? It just absolutely destroyed me. And DeAndre Swift. Swift had again all guys that had like massive volume, which is what you want, safety, and but all three just did not have good days at the office. So anyway, I think.
Chuba Hubbard over ETN?
No, I'm still not doing that. I just think ETN just gets too many touches. I get the question as well. I have ETN at 11. I have Chuba Hubbard at 21. I'm going with the ETN. But Sutton versus Rice, that one's a tough one. I think Rice. I like Sutton today. Like I feel like he's got a decent shot here, but I don't know. Like I'd rather. Sutton is so touchdown dependent, and I would rather bank on Patrick Mahomes than Russell Wilson. So give me Rashee Rice.
Okay. We've got time for one more before we hit a break.
But by the way, I'd start Chuba Hubbard in the flex over both those wide receivers if you can, because I think Hubbard's going to get 20 touches today.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Never thought he'd be considering Cooper Kupp or Jake Ferguson in the flex. Already have Hockenson at tight end. Needs a win to make the playoffs. And Jalen Warren did not come through on Thursday night for Ben.
I get it, and I really like Jake Ferguson tonight. I have him as a top 5 tight end. I can't imagine. I think I'd probably ride or die with Cooper Kupp, though.
Has to be Cooper. Cooper Kupp's receiving for is 45.5. Like it's just way too low. Like it's still Cooper Kupp. He looks healthier as well. So to me, it's Cooper Kupp.
I think you'll feel dumb if you bench Cooper Kupp and Ferguson does nothing tonight. And you miss the playoffs. But if you start Cooper Kupp and he doesn't do anything, like you went down with Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, sleep easy.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Here's what I don't know about. The idea that you just start, because it's just based on his name, Cooper Kupp. Like you talked about the weather, you talked about the Ravens defense. It's like
it's a real question.
Death taxes and Eagles tight ends, or start tight ends against the Eagles, right?
It's a real question.
Start the person you think has the best matchup. You ain't got time to just go down with somebody and then go home and say I should have started Jake Ferguson. Like he's asking the question. He knows it's Jake Ferguson.
I'm benching Cooper Kupp in the league, but it's not for a tight end. It's for Olave. Nico Collins, some guys,
Ben is asking
Michael
the question
Pittman.
for a reason. He said he never thought he'd be considered. You considered it because you know the answer is Jake Ferguson. That's why you considered it. But hey, listen to him. Because if I'm wrong, I don't want you coming at me. I want you going at him.
Michael makes a great point. Listen, honestly, it's a coin flip to me. Go with your gut, Ben. Jay and I think Kupp, but I think by like this much. I don't feel great about that. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like if you told me you decided to go with Ferguson and bench Kupp, I wouldn't be like, you're crazy. What are you doing? Kupp hasn't been great, and it's bad weather, and they're on the road to Baltimore. I'm
in on the night thing too. I just like delaying it as much as possible. Like Sunday night football. Give me Sunday night football. I got something to look forward to.
If Kupp get that 20 though,
but to your point,
you be crying at night.
Ferguson's receiving prop is also 43.5. Like they're both
which is crazy.
Sort of right there. Yeah. I just think there's a more narrow.
It's the realest question of the day.
These are my children.
Oh, those really your children?
Yeah. So, Remy likes Dad, and Baby Rio prefers Michael Smith.
How cute is
Big
that?
Hit. The Birdie Questions animation. Huge hit with 3-year-olds and 1-year-olds.
I've told you this. I wish I could trade places with you, man. That's beautiful.
That's Daddy. Who's that man?
With no body.
Right.
Hey, Justin, meet Justin. Oh, that's adorable. Made that kid's youth.
Those are some serious boots. He's ready.
Yeah. He look like he might go play.
Yeah.
Justin Fields, just outside your top 5. He is your number 6 quarterback, Matthew.
Well, you heard Lawrence talk about his rushing earlier in the show. He's actually had 100 rushing yards in each of the last 3 games against the Lions. 30 rushing attempts in 2 games since returning, and the most important part for me, Michael, over 70% of those rushes have been designed runs. This isn't just him, ducking and running and scrambling. They finally put this as to be a big part of the offense, taking advantage of the athleticism of Justin Fields over the last 4 weeks. Only one team in the NFL allows more fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks than the Detroit Lions. This game is at home in Chicago. Give me Justin Fields as a top 6 play today.
Fascinated that each of the last 2 seasons, they've started the season reluctant to call design runs for him.
Yeah.
And then
they started both seasons in crisis. It's just let him off the leash.
And an underrated storyline of this offseason will be because the Bears are going to have the number 1 pick again because they own the Panthers pick. And with the Patriots winning Thursday night, it's almost certainly going to be the Bears with the number 1 pick. And they've got Drake May and Caleb Williams are by all accounts franchise quarterbacks, but they have Fields. And so what do they do?
Fields ain't the guy. Fields is solid, and I think with a better infrastructure around him, he'll be very good. But I don't think he's the guy in Chicago. But I think he is the guy today, Matthew, because to your point about the Detroit defense, not only are they bad at the moment in pass defense, but they're very bad in a particular way. It's explosive plays down the field. And Justin Fields, when he's not having to just throw a million screen passes like he did against the Vikings, he can throw down the field as well as anyone. So I think it's a great matchup for him. His passing props 197.5. That's too low for me. That should be on the other side of 200 easily.
All right. Hey, Lawrence, you, like most of us, have your eye on Dak Prescott, Matthew's QB1. Is he your QB1 as well?
He's my QB1 as well. Even though they lost to the Eagles back in Week 9, he was QB2 that week with the 3 touchdown passes. The only thing I'll bring up is, besides him finally starting to, actually get some credit in the sports media, this game is big for him in that aspect. But he's done this with relatively, nothing great of a running game. The Cowboys ain't been able to run the ball. Tony Pollard has scored in the last 3 games, so from a fantasy perspective, that's better. But he in the running game hasn't necessarily been better. He's ran good against the Commanders. That's a bottom 5 run defense, and the Panthers, another bottom 5 run defense. So it's not like the Cowboys have a throwback Ezekiel Elliott back there they can just hand the ball off to. This is on Dak's arm. Hell, he's made Brandon Cooks relevant.
Sound like you're making an MVP case for Dak over there.
Well, I did a while back when it was plus 3,500. Now he's there neck and neck with Brock Purdy. Yeah. Them beating the Eagles, I think this will put him over Purdy, just like Purdy beating the Eagles put him up atop, just because you're beating, the bet. But it'll stay close either way.
Yeah. All right, and Jay, back to you on Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's just kind of depressing, this Patrick Mahomes season. Yeah. It's not igniting. He's QB8 on the season, and this is Patrick Mahomes, and he's been healthy all year, but only QB8, and I just don't think it's getting better at this point. Now he loses Pacheco, which I think will hurt him because of what a weapon Pacheco is in the run game, and to give him more manageable downs to work with, and just none of these guys are emerging. Rashee Rice is the only guy, and if it's not going to Rice or Kelsey, it's just not going anywhere. So, Mahomes, you still have to start him every week.
Well, that's not true. It's not going to Kelsey Mahomes.
Through MVS's hands.
It's going through MVS's hands.
Or through Justin Watson's hands. Or through Sky Moore's hands. Or Kadarius Toney's hands. But you probably have to start Mahomes every week. But
1,000%.
There are going to be matchups where I'm sure there are people who drafted as their second QB, CJ Stroud or Sam Howell, and a lot of weeks you're going to be starting them over Mahomes.
Or Brock Purdy.
Yeah, or Brock Purdy, absolutely.
All right, let's go into my territory.
Yes, sir.
This is this section of the quarterback rankings where I like to play, starting with Josh Dobbs, who you've already said is a top 15 player today.
He was one of my shot for shots, but in case you're tuning in late, I am at QB 14. You see it there on your screen. I think he has a nice game here. 2 weeks to prepare for this. He gets Justin Jefferson back. Over the last month, the Raiders allow 290 passing yards per game. That's 3rd most in the NFL. They also give up the 3rd highest completion percentage per game this season as well. So I think Josh Dobbs, inside on the turf in Las Vegas, he has a nice game. He'll get you 30, 40 rushing yards as well. Give me Josh Dobbs as QB 14 with some upside to wind up as a QB1 this week.
All right, I want to look at this coin flick because this concerns me, Jay. Gardner Minshew, who Matthew has right below, I believe, your man, Browning Sanity. What do you think about
Browning
Gardner
Sanity.
Minshew? Like, they go head-to-head today.
Yeah, they do go head-to-head. Kind of a fun matchup after, who would have thought that a few weeks ago. But with Minshew, look, I don't think Minshew's that good. And he's a turnover waiting to happen, but he's not good in a way that is fantasy-friendly. Because at least he heaves it up. And he can throw deep. The ball to Alec Pierce to effectively win them the game against the Titans is perfect. Now, he does turn the ball over.
The fumbles piss me off so much.
The fumbles are so bad.
Like,
and
just
also
protect the ball.
I know.
Dude.
And they always come in like the red zone as well, or at least it feels like they do. But he has a very favorable matchup against the Bengals defense that I think is a bottom 3 unit in football, missing Cam Taylor-Britt, their best corner, and I think they're going to be throwing in this game. So Minshew, I think, is a viable starter today.
So you starting him over Browning?
That's a coin flip.
It is, because you got him back-to-back.
Yeah, I don't. Again, to use Matthew's phrase, I don't think you can screw that up. Okay. But it's very close. I might lean Minshew, but it's very close.
Okay, sweet. And then Lawrence, lastly, Jared Goff.
Yeah, I see Matthew, you have him at QB 15 this week. Thing about Goff is when there's no pressure, he's lighting you up. When there's pressure, you lighten him up. And don't look now, but this Bears defense has been playing well recently.
Yeah.
They before the bye, they got Josh Dobbs to throw 4 picks. They also sacked him twice and forced a fumble on Alexander Madison. The week before that versus Jared Goff, they got him to throw 3 interceptions and they sacked him twice as well. So the Chicago defense, since getting Montez Sweat on that defensive line, they've been turning up a little bit. And now it's, now we on the outdoors now in this matchup. A couple weeks ago, it was in the dome. So just be wary and don't be shocked if guys like you just mentioned, like Minshew and Jake Browning, are able to outscore him for this week.
Yep. I'm not convinced the Lions are that much better than the Bears at this point with the way their defense is playing. I think Chicago win today.
All right, let's move on to the running back spot. Kyren Williams. Man, what a role he has been on. He is your RB3 at Baltimore. Tough matchup, but you still like him, Matthew.
I really do. Look, the fact of the matter is that he's had a 94% snap rate. And he got every running back touch last week except for one.
I'm old enough to remember, I don't know if you're going to have him, do 90%.
He got 24. Right. He got 24 touches last week. There was one running back touch they didn't have. Just one. He's scored a touchdown in 6-7 games this year, where he's gotten at least 15 touches as well. Running backs that have seen at least 15 touches against the Ravens are averaging over 18 points per game. Kyren, who averages basically 20 touches a game, I'm at running back 3. I get it, but bad weather on the road, I think volume gets him there against the Ravens.
How incredible is it that arguably the 2 true workhorse backs in the NFL this year are Kyren Williams and Zach Moss? Sort of thought that before the season.
What I was literally just thinking, I said, man, if you got Kyren Williams and CMC on your team going into the playoffs, you got to feel damn good about that, because it ain't nobody else. And they're pretty good, too. Yeah. Ain't nobody getting touches.
It feels lifetimes ago, but, Cam Akers was the guy coming into the season. Yeah. He was the guy. He was everyone's sleeper. No one was thinking about Kyren.
Nobody else in New York other than Saquon Barkley, Lawrence.
Yeah, no, and this is another guy, too, although he's not in the ideal situation, quarterback and offensive-wise, like a Kyren Williams, but he's still a top 12 running back since Tommy DeVito has been the starter in Week 8. You're now going up against Green Bay, who allowed the 9th most points per game to running backs in fantasy. And you just saw what Pacheco was able to do against them last week with his 110 rush yards, got in the end zone. The Packers have actually allowed running backs to get 110 yards 3 out of the last 4 games. So whatever the case, game script have you, Saquon will be able to get that through the receiving game if he can't get it through the run game.
And Jay, not only do you like Bijan Robinson, sounds like you like this matchup between the Bucs and the Falcons today in general for fantasy purposes.
I think underrated fantasy fiesta in this one. And Bijan, the fact that Vita Vea is out, that's absolutely huge because he is their run stopper. And you see when you lose that guy, like the Colts' run defense without Grover Stewart has been terrible for 6 weeks. The Bucs are going to really suffer without Vita Vea. Now with Bijan, I don't know why they keep giving carries to Cordarrelle Patterson. And I understand, like Cordarrelle Patterson, he's a legend in his own right, but you've already got 2 really good running backs there in Algier and Robinson. So maybe this is the week that Robinson gets a few more carries.
I just enjoy Lawrence, Michael. I just enjoy Jay's childlike bewilderment at why Arthur Smith is making a confusing coaching decision. I don't get it.
He's done.
I don't get it. It's so
like,
weird.
Say like it's
so,
new, right? Like it's new.
It's so right. It's just like wow. It's so odd that they gave Cordarrelle Patterson so much run. Like
the baffling thing should be why you're giving Algier so much, but now they're giving Patterson work as well.
It's adorable. It's like your first day on the job. It's like the new kid. Like
exactly.
Just like it's
Rationality does make me upset.
So we got somebody that started Bailey Zappi.
Oh, now
I'll
you
be
go.
damn.
Zappy Holidays.
Full PPR, please pick 2 each. Bijan, Saquon, Achane, Gabe Davis, Elijah Moore, DK Metcalf.
I am, let's see, Bijan and Achane for me at running back here. I can't believe I'm saying bench Saquon, but I am, in fact, saying probably Elijah Moore. Although news just came out here that confirms Joe Flacco will, in fact, start. So
Shocker.
just to give you an idea, I have Gabe Davis at 30.
Yeah.
I have, let's see, I have, what do I have Elijah? I have Elijah Moore at 39, and obviously, I mean, Metcalf's higher. Metcalf's right there.
We talked about Geno's groin.
No, we did talk about Geno's.
And it's San Francisco. Is it something to be safe for bench and DK?
I know, but all he needs is sort of one. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine.
And he ain't getting caught.
Yeah, exactly. So, to me, Elijah Moore is who I would bench there. So, Saquon and Elijah Moore is who I would pick to sit J-Lock.
All right. Back to the rankings we go. It's been a good half hour since we had a James Cook joke, Matthew.
Yeah, exactly.
We're overdue.
Roast him up, cook him. I think he's going to cook today against the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, since Joe Brady took over as offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, he's averaging 21 touches a game. He's got a 14% target share. His numbers could have even been bigger had he hauls in that 35-yarder down the sideline that he dropped. And over the last 4 weeks, Chiefs allow 5.3 yards per carry to opposing running backs. That's 3rd highest in the NFL. We expect this to be a shootout game, a lot of scoring. So give me James Cook as a top 15 play today. He comes in at running back 14 for me in week 14.
Derrick Henry?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some leagues where Derrick Henry gets benched this week, and it's kind of sad to say that about a legend in Derrick Henry, and he's still, I think, just as good as he ever was, but he's just getting absolutely screwed by game script on this team. And I think that this is a game where, we talked about Tyjae Spears. I wouldn't be shocked if Tyjae Spears outscores Derrick Henry in this game, honestly, because they're 13-point dogs, and I suspect they'll be in throw script all the second half.
Los Pacheco, who does Jess flex? Sutton, Henry, or CEH?
I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton here. I wouldn't mind CEH, but I actually do think Sutton has a nice game. It's a really good matchup against the Chargers. They're bad against candidly everyone. I mean, but just secondary one. But like when they get in close, Russell Wilson does look for Cortland Sutton. He does throw to him. So in this one, I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton. I think it's close. I think they're all viable, but believe it or not, I like Cortland Sutton here as a flex. Just dabs.
Bringing back 2015 Cam.
Man.
That's right. That's me
boy.
dabbing. That's what that was.
No, we saw that.
In the same segment as your third James Cook reference, too.
That looked more like you did the Colin Kaepernick thing he used to do when he
Oh, it
scored.
looked like you were sneezing in your elbows, actually.
Like,
It's very similar.
It's cooler when Kaepernick did it.
It is definitely cooler.
It's slightly better.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm an old man, and my dabbing skills aren't what they used to be.
Hey, Lawrence, we talked a lot
Time
about
catches up to everyone.
Devon Achane. What about Raheem Mostert?
Yeah, we should definitely love Devon Achane as a top 10 running back, but let's not forget Raheem Mostert either. He still should be inside that top 20, and he too can, despite being 30, 31 years old, he's still he a top 3 fastest running back in the league. He could break one away too. And although he only played 38% of the snaps, A lot of Devon Achan's snaps was later in the game. He carried the ball 11 times in that fourth quarter, so it'll be closer to that 50-50. Devon Achan at this point is just the better and most explosive back, but in that offense, both running backs could get you a touchdown in there.
All right, back to the rankings outside the top 20. Chuba Hubbard, Matthew.
Chuba Hubbard continues to get a ton of work. They got rid of Frank Reich. They got rid of running backs coach Deuce Staley, and they've gone back to Chuba Hubbard being kind of the lead guy here. He's now had two games in a row with at least 19 touches. In games in which he sees at least 15 this year, he's averaging 14 fantasy points per game. Saints allow 163 yards per game since week 8, which is the most in the NFL. So Chuba Hubbard, who's getting between 17 and 20 touches basically every single week in a good matchup, comes in at running back 21 for me. Miles Sanders, he's just not a thing. Not at all. It's all Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah.
And one of Jay's best bets, by the way, just as long as we're there, about that Panthers game was Bryce Young over, was it 225?
Bryce Young to throw for 250 plus is plus 750.
Yes.
He's in a dome against a really struggling defense. No Marshawn Lattimore, obviously. And we saw with Bailey Zappi, like you can luck your way into mid 200 yards.
So that was your I think your pickup line for Friday. I like that. And by the way, I just basically did a ladder bet on DraftKings where because you can get 200, 225. I mean, 250 is at plus 750, but like you can sort of ladder that up. And so I made all those bets and go Bryce Young today.
So week 14 must win here. Start one in PPR, Thielen, Hubbard, or Jaden Reed.
Yeah, I think it's Hubbard. I don't particularly think it's close. Thielen's just been bad the last couple of weeks, kind of showing his age there. And Reed could easily get into the end zone, but Hubbard, like again, you just heard me talk about that. Hubbard's getting 20 touches today in a good matchup. It's Chuba Hubbard.
All right. Hey, Lawrence, I want to put you up on game on this young man out of East Carolina. This running back,
Oh, yeah,
all right?
Keaton Mitchell.
Ran like a
His guy.
a high 4.2, low 4.3 in the 40.
Yeah.
This explosive running back in Baltimore. You heard of him?
I might have.
Yeah.
And this will be the second time I'm talking about him today, and it won't be the last. Just make sure y'all listen to what I say, especially you, Matthew. 'Cause
I'm listening.
Just listen for later. Listen for later.
Listen to me now, believe me later on.
I start plotting right now.
Yeah.
It's as simple as this. Over the past 3 weeks, Gus Edwards' snap percentage has went from 52% to 38 to 28 to 27%. On the flip side, that number has increased for Keaton Mitchell, 24%, 36%, now 46%. He led the team in carries the last game. And he himself, right, a couple of days ago, he said, and I quote, "I ain't ran my fastest yet." So that's a little scary for the opposing defense. So, Matthew has him at running back 26 this week. I have him at running back 22. And at the end of this, neither one of us might be high enough just because of the big playability. So here we go.
I'll also tell you this. I'm playing again in a league in which I need to win today to make the playoffs. I'm third in total points in this league, but I've just had some bad, most points against the whole thing.
Yeah.
I lost 2 quarterback league where I lost Richardson, lost Mark Andrews. So I'm scraping by. I'm doing everything I can, but I need to win today to get into the playoffs. Otherwise, I'll be like, third highest scoring team sitting out. And the guy I'm playing, who also needs to, it's like basically the winner of our matchup gets in the playoffs.
So the playoffs start today, basically.
Yeah, he's got Keaton Mitchell.
Yeah, terrifying.
Well, Keaton Mitchell's going off. I'm just going to tell you that's the kind of luck that's going to happen. I'm promising you Keaton Mitchell will go off because this guy's got him in my league against me. So I promise you, Keaton Mitchell is going to have a monster day because it's against me. And bad things happen to me in fantasy football.
Now that,
I have not.
folks,
Fantasy hasn't done much for you.
Fantasy has not done much for me. One of these
Must
days
be
it's going to
life.
work out for me, but so far not so much. Just so you know.
Jay, Alexander Madison.
Yeah, Alexander Madison, he's not very sexy. He's kind of aggressively unsexy, in fact. But
You didn't have to look directly at me when you said that.
yeah, sorry.
Save it for
right
pickup
into your
lines.
eyes.
Yeah, come on.
So the thing with Madison, though, is he is still the lead running back on a team that has Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Jordan Addison. This is going to be a good offense going forward. I think with Jefferson back, they're going to be in scoring position more often. And as uninspiring as he's been, he's still their guy in pass protection. And I think that gives him a certain flaw. And so you probably do worse than Alexander Madison this week.
All right, let's move on to the wide receiver spot. And Mike Evans, Matthew.
Mike Evans has just been an absolute tear, averaging over 10 targets a game in the last month, a 33% target share, and an average depth of target of 16.2 in that stretch. I mean, they're not only throwing it to him a lot, they're chucking to him deep. He's one of the guys that can go out and just grab the ball. Falcons tied for the second most touchdowns allowed on deep passes. A.J. Terrell, I think he's playing today. He is playing, but he's been on the injury report. He's been hurt all week. There was a chance that he might not go. So Terrell, who might be less than 100%, that definitely helps Evans' matchup as well. He's my wide receiver 9. He's as hot a wide receiver as there is in the NFL right now.
Jay, Michael Pittman?
Yeah, well, Michael Pittman has an argument for that as well. Michael Pittman is probably the most underrated player in football, I might say. Jeffrey Simmons has that mantle on the defensive side, but Pittman's right there, and he's really got a connection with Gardner Minshew. Caught the walk-off touchdown last week against Tennessee. Now gets a very favorable matchup against a struggling Bengals secondary.
And Lawrence, how you like Jamar Chase with Jake Browning throwing him the rock?
I think he's back. Just as much as he'd be back if Joe Burrow was at quarterback. We just had to see it. Well, we done synced it, weeks in a row. Caught 11 of 12 targets, and they were actively trying to get him the ball. Even without the 76-yard touchdowns, you saw that it was the plan was, look, we'll run the ball and throw it to Jamar Chase. So I got him as wide receiver 5. He was wide receiver 6 in fantasy last week.
Trying to keep his best friend, biggest rival out of the playoffs. See, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
That's fantasy
Our
right
kind
there.
of player. Standard play, pick 2. Chase, Nico Collins, Chris Olave.
All right, well, you're definitely starting Jamar Chase as well. Look, I have Olave at 14, Nico Collins at 16. They're right there as well. So obviously I'm saying Chase and Olave, but I don't think you can screw it up. Collins, we're nervous about being on the road against the Jets. He'll see a lot of DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner in bad weather. Give me Chase and Olave here.
Yep, Chase is the one that you absolutely have to start. Colts have got no corners.
Yeah.
There's a special place in heaven for people like Gerald.
Yeah.
Because I just think about the people in certain leagues I've been in who just mail it in at the end of the season. And because of your negligence when it comes to your either free agency moves or lineup decisions or non-decisions, you then keep somebody else from making the playoffs who otherwise would if you'd have just done your job. Just do your job. It pisses me off when people just mail it in because their season's over.
And then I think when you are able to do that, like I asked the Detroit Lions last year beating Green Bay at the end of the year, I bet you it feel obviously not as good as making the playoffs, but to know that you just kept somebody from being happy.
There's just
integrity.
Culture builder.
Yes.
This is some integrity. You call this fantasy karma, right?
1,000% fantasy karma, yeah.
And so you'll be good next year in fantasy, right? Because the Lions kept the Packers out the playoffs last year. Now they have a good team. So that's going to happen for you, Gerald, when you win this matchup today.
There you go. He was asking about Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, or Chris Olave. Let's go deeper on Chris Olave, Matthew, if you would be so kind.
Be happy to. Well, he's had 4 straight games where he's averaged at least 2 fantasy points per target. That's just an insane number. Since week 7, he's got a 26% target share. He's getting at least 8 targets in every game. This is all since week 7. And then you think about this Carolina Panthers defense that is bottom 8 in the NFL in terms of completion rate allowed on deep passes, where obviously Olave does so much damage. He comes in at running wide receiver 14 for me today. Olave has just been so good. No Michael Thomas, Rashid Shaheed, it's the Olave show in a great matchup at home against Carolina.
Lawrence, how do you feel about Deebo Samuel following up that big performance against Philly?
I feel like, because he deals with injuries and misses a few games per season, we forget that he's one of the best players overall in the league. Since coming back from his injury in week 10, he's been wide receiver 9. That's 20.8 fantasy points per game, and he scored 3 out of his last 4 games. The crazy thing is, with those games missed, he still got 7 touchdowns on the year. I mean, I said it here last week. I was definitely wrong picking the Eagles to win, but I said nobody in the league today is going to play harder than Deebo. And, man, he looked like a man on a mission, just catching screens and outrunning. He definitely had the black Air Force Ones on that day. He himself bullied that whole Eagles defense. So he's back.
I love how they still give him rushing attempts as well too. They don't,
Yeah,
they've
he-
gone totally away from that.
Friend of the show, Debo Samuel.
There you go.
We love Debo.
And Jay, Puka Nacua in bad weather against Baltimore.
Yeah, well, speaking of guys who get rushing attempts, Puka Nacua starting to be used in the run game, had a big run around the right sideline last week. Now, it's just good that he's even in this game because it felt like the season was done, the way that he walked to the locker room with his shoulder last week. But even in weather, in rain, I still think that he is viable, even if he's not going to have a massive game. I think that Stafford is just going to throw so much that he'll get to usability.
I mean, Baltimore's like a touchdown favorite in this one, right?
Yeah, so you expect they'll be throwing.
Yeah, exactly.
Andrew needs 2 for half PPR. Olave, Mostert, Nacua, Garrett Wilson.
I think you have it, Andrew. I think you have it correct in the correct order there. I mean, it's Olave and Mostert, right? I mean, we like Garrett Wilson, we like Nacua, but Garrett Wilson has Zach Wilson throwing to him, which is always a kind of a roller coaster. Nacua, you just talked about. We like Nacua, but you heard me talk up Olave, and I feel like Raheem Mostert. Obviously, again, I want as much of the Miami offense as I can get. So Olave and Mostert for me.
All right. Who was it that was talking about Rashee Rice earlier? Was that you, Jay?
I mentioned that he was the only good thing about the offense, along with Travis Kelce.
Matthew, you got him at 23.
Back-to-back games with a 30% target share with at least 8 receptions in both of them as well. Since the Bills lost Tre'Davious White, they allow the second highest catch rate to wide receivers. I think the only thing holding Rice back is weirdly the play calling. You just can't get like a 90% snap share, 100%, but it continues to trend in the right direction. We think this game is a shootout. We already know Isaiah Pacheco's out, so I don't think they'll be as effective running the ball. This game, if the Chiefs win, they're going to have to play good defense, but also Patrick Mahomes is going to have a Patrick Mahomes type game, and you're going to see some Kelce, but also see some Rashee Rice. I wonder if Taylor Swift will be in the house. If only there was a way. I hope they don't ever like to show a camera, so I don't know if she'll be out there, but oh boy.
There you go.
Oh,
You
James.
ready? Here we go.
I'm here for you. James, my guy. He says, help me, Luigi.
No, I read it. I was just keep going. No, by all means.
It's me.
By all
me, Luigi. All right, James wants to know
No, you have to read it in
half a PPR bonus on the 40-yard plays. Must win. Top team again in the playoffs. All right, sit to one. James wanted me to sit to one. Sit to one. Rashee Rice, DeAndre Hopkins, and Breece Hall, and Keaton Mitchell.
He said Breece.
Breece Hall.
Unfortunately, we just got geo-banned in Italy for all the time. So we lost our
Is
Italian
that the key?
audience.
Just add a syllable at the end? Is that, it's pretty much the
All of our
technique.
viewers
I
in
don't
Florence
want to
have
ruin
flipped
anything
over.
for you, but yeah, that's kind of the thing there. This one's a tough one. So I'll do this. So I have DeAndre Hopkins at 20. I have Rashee Rice at 23. So Hopkins over Rice. I have Breece Hall over Keaton Mitchell. That much I know. I have Mitchell at 26. I have Breece Hall at 19. So we're starting with Hopkins. We're starting with Breece Hall. So now it becomes Rashee Rice or Keaton Mitchell. I like both these guys. It's a half PPR bonus on 4. Ooh, that's the thing. Half PPR bonus on 40-yard plays.
Makes Keaton interesting, don't it?
Right? So, but it makes Rashee Rice. I mean, I sort of feel like with 40-yard plays, you want the wide receivers. Like the odds of.
But it's like this offense. When's the last time Mahomes threw 40? I think he's gone like 5 or 6 games without throwing one.
I weirdly think Rashee Rice is probably the guy you're benching here.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
I mean, like again, because both Keaton Mitchell and Breece Hall have the kind of speed where they could take a dump off and easily get to 40 yards. So I'm sitting Rashee Rice.
Yep.
Hopkins,
I
I
agree.
mean, Hopkins, all he's gotten so far is deep. You know what I mean? Like, that's what Levis does with him. So, yeah.
Interesting. Half a PPR bonus on 40-yard plays.
Yep.
Okay, like it. Jay, I talked about Geno Smith's groin.
Yes, you did.
I talked about
Great shot.
DK Metcalf and whether or not they have concerns about him or just really everybody against San Francisco. Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
I think you're
dealing with
sitting
him?
Tyler Lockett in most leagues, especially if Drew Lock is going, and even if Geno is. Lockett hasn't been great lately. I mean, he dropped a pass against Dallas, which hurt, but I feel like this is transitioning to Jackson Smith and Jigba in that role.
Yeah, definitely feels that way. And Lawrence, I already told you I love Brandon Cooks today. To cook.
Yeah, nice. Well done. Well played.
Well, the whole thing right here is what matters is touchdowns, right? Brandon Cooks, he scored a touchdown in 3 of his last 4 games. Who's given up the most touchdowns to receivers this year? You guessed it, the Philadelphia Eagles with 21. In 5 straight games, they've given up multiple receiving touchdowns. So that's bad for the Eagles, but good for Brandon Cooks. And he's now solidified. He's been solidified as the number 2 receiver in that offense.
All right. A little deeper here, going to Jaden Reed, Matthew, as you mentioned, with Christian Watson out. A little Monday night action against the Giants. What you think?
Yeah, look, I'm at wide receiver 36. The nice thing about Jaden Reed, 5 straight games with at least 4 receptions. They've also started to use Jaden Reed in the rushing game as well. And why does that matter? Because the Giants have allowed 3 rushing touchdowns to wide receivers this year. That's the most in the NFL. They're also, by the way, the Giants are also allowing the most fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers over the last 4 weeks. So Jaden Reed, who should get increased looks with Christian Watson being out in a favorable matchup on Monday night, I think he's kind of interesting here in the 30 to 40 range. He comes in at wide receiver 36 for me.
Lawrence, Jonathan Mingo. What you got?
Yeah, that's who's interesting to me. And you see, while we both have Thielen ranked higher, but that gap is closed tremendously, mainly because, Mingo has averaged 7 targets in the past 4 games. Interesting thing, too, here, hasn't scored in the past 2 weeks, right? But he's still been wide receiver 27 in that span. To compare, DJ Chark is wide receiver 52, Adam Thielen is wide receiver 88. So, coming off of a game where he had a season high in catches, yards, and targets, I think he will help Bryce Young have that decent game against the New Orleans Saints.
And Jay, we've been talking a lot about Elijah Moore, that Joe Flacco connection or reconnection, as the case may be.
Yeah, Joe Flacco looks stunningly competent against the Rams, and it wasn't just the throws, and he's always had the rocket arm. He's throwing frozen ropes over the middle, but he's also rolling out to his right. He's moving around. He looked like such a statue last year. I wonder if just the time off has been really good for him and his body. And Elijah Moore, he's the big beneficiary because they had that connection. They played together on the Jets last year. Now the Jags defense, there will be some weather in that game, but the Jags defense looked terrible against Cincinnati. So I think Elijah Moore is a deep league starter.
Yeah, it is. By the way, it's come out. It is officially going to be Joe Flacco starting today.
Full PPR for a 12-team league. Flex, Rashee Rice, Raheem Mostert, or Elijah Moore.
I like, by the way, it's Raheem Mostert, but I like the all caps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's letting you know. He gonna let you know.
Yeah.
All right.
No messing around.
Yeah,
Like
Raheem Mostert.
Like he yelling that message.
Raheem
out.
Mostert is the answer for me here. Yeah.
Let's get to some tight ends, shall we?
Oh, I would love that.
We were debating Jake Ferguson versus Cooper Kupp earlier. Jake Ferguson, a top 5 play to you against Philadelphia.
He certainly is. He's scored in 4 of the past 6 games, including the last time he faced Philadelphia when he went 7 for 91 and a touchdown and got a season-high 10 targets when he saw the Eagles earlier. Tight ends that see at least 5 targets against the Eagles are averaging over 16.5 fantasy points per game. 5 of the 7 scored a touchdown. And why is this important? Because no tight end in the NFL has more red zone targets this year than Jake Ferguson. He leads all tight ends by a pretty wide margin. Again, death taxes start your tight ends against the Eagles. Ferguson, or as I like to call him, Fergie, comes in as tight end 5.
Okay.
So you may be looking at this starting Evan Ingram.
The real Fergie.
Yes.
You may be looking at starting Evan Ingram against the Cleveland defense. You might see it in red. Might see the 1 next to it as in their first against tight ends.
Yeah.
But that doesn't scare you, though.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a difference because you're going from the second worst team against tight ends to the best. But and Evan Ingram was tight end 2 last week. But you just, and now you feel better about it now that Trevor Lawrence is starting here. But losing Christian Kirk, I think, is big, and that's where, Evan Ingram will make his due, just needing that extra target to get through the day. Now, the Cleveland tight ends against Cleveland have averaged only 23 receiving yards in the past 4 games, but Ingram is a different type of tight end.
He's a wide receiver.
You're right. He's more of a H-back type player. You put him in a slot, run a 4-4, so he plays more like a receiver. So I'm not as worried, even though it's a tough matchup.
Yeah, they're going to get him the ball. All that was missing this year for him was touchdowns, and he broke through and got in the end zone last week. Jay Dallas Goedert makes his return for Philadelphia.
He does, and he makes his return to probably every fantasy lineup. You have to start Dallas Goedert. Understand he's coming off the injury. Initially, it was thought that he'd probably hit IR and miss this game, but they kept him off IR purely to bring him back for this Cowboys game. So I think you're loading up Dallas Goedert and starting him everywhere in a game that should be very high scoring.
All right. Matthew, Isaiah Likely is kind of like the only real tight end handcuff in the league. Mm-hmm. But has he ever, other than maybe a game or two, truly approximated Mark Andrews' production?
It's been inconsistent for sure, but I will say that he's had 6 career games where he's seen at least 5 targets. He's averaging over 12 fantasy points per game in those games. Last time we saw him, he got 6 targets, right? A 20% target share. Well, tight ends that have seen at least 4 targets against the Ram scored double-digit fantasy points in 7 of the 11 games that happened. So Isaiah Likely, you see it, he's outside my top 10 there, but I do think he's a little bit viable today against the Rams.
So in other words, if they're throwing the ball against the Rams, good things will happen.
That is what I'm saying.
I love it. Jay, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts, who was having a little renaissance of sorts,
Yeah.
certainly a usable tight end after it looked like it would be the Jonnu Smith show for a time. And look, this Bucs defense, they're missing a ton of guys. Jamel Dean is out, Devin White is out, Vita Vea is out, and Desmond Ridder, his passing prop's 197.5. Talked about that before. That's too low to me. I think Kyle Pitts will have a good day as well.
And his counterpart, Cade Ottenworth.
Yeah, just on the other side, Atlanta allows the 9th most points to tight ends. Otten's got at least 45 yards and 4 catches 2 straight weeks. So anybody from that 11 to 20 range could have that type of stat line.
I'm going to bet that. I'm going to bet a Desmond Ritter over.
Yeah,
Lawrence,
there's no better way to live. No better way to live in
yeah,
America.
exactly. I'm going to do that right
Sunday,
I'm doing that right now.
with Desi.
You want to sweat today,
Yeah,
huh?
exactly.
While Matthew does that, we will remind you,
But I agree,
in case
that's
you
too
forgot, tonight, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Football night in America, Sunday Night Football on NBC and Peacock.
Let's go.
What more needs to be said? Oh, Matthew Barron's going to be there, too.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be on it. Watch for that.
Oh, damn. I ain't seen that in a while. Arizona Cardinals social media team for the win during the bye week. They got a pretty strong social group with the Cardinals, I must say.
Better than that
Shout
secondary.
out to Mark Dalton and those guys. Y'all still got your AOL address?
I don't know the password.
I do.
I still have mine.
I do, yeah. It's filled with spam, and I haven't checked it in 4 years.
It's the email address you gave me back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
All right, it's time for some beer goggles.
Coffee.
It's time for some beer goggles. On a scale of 1 to 5 beers, Y'all know how it goes. How many beers do these guys need to feel good about starting the following? Let's start with the Texans at the Jets. Matthew, how many beers you need to feel good about starting Breece Hall?
Just 2 beers. Like, again, 5 receptions in 3 straight games. I actually think Zach Wilson under center is good for the Jets offense given the other options that are available to them. There's definitely concern, though. 5 straight games with 75 or fewer total yards since week 8. He's averaging 2.2 yards per carry. Texans are no pushover, so 2 beers. He's my running back 19. What a little buzz. Don't feel great about it, but still probably doing it.
Jay, what about Garrett Wilson?
Exact same deal, really. It's the exact same boat. 2 beers for Garrett Wilson. This Jets offense, it just is what it is at this point, but Wilson through volume alone with his brother Zach back, providing a little bit more competence. I think he'll give you the 6 for 51 and half a chance at a touchdown.
And Lawrence, C.J. Stroud against this Jets defense.
This week, I'm going to say 2. So you need a little something there just because it's the Jets defense who allow the 4th fewest points to quarterbacks. Their last 5 games, only 1 quarterback was better than quarterback 20 for the week, and that includes Tua and Justin Herbert. So I would need at least 2. I still got him as a quarterback 1 this week, but right at the threshold. So I need 2 beers for that.
Matthew, T. Higgins.
Yeah. I'm at 3 beers. Listen, is it 4 or 5? No, because he's still T. Higgins. He's still talented. We think Jake Browning is competent. But I'd want to be feeling, close to no pain here to start T. Higgins. He's my wide receiver 34. Look, last week with Jake Browning under center, he had an 8% target share. 8. Over the last 2 weeks, Browning 32%, 32nd. Last in the NFL in terms of percentage of passes thrown, 15 or yards more downfield. And if he does take a deep shot, it's more likely than not going to Jamar Chase. Colts allow passing touchdowns at the 6th lowest rate here, so T. Higgins, wide receiver 34 again. We just haven't seen enough this year, and specifically with Browning under center and Higgins out there to feel super confident about him.
Jay, given what Matthew just said about Jake Browning in this matchup against the Colts, how many beers do you need to start Jake Browning?
2 beers for Jake Browning. Feel relatively good about Browning after what he did against the Jags. Those wide receiver weapons have really favorable matchups against the suspect Colts secondary. The only reason that it's not 1 beer is that it's still Jake Browning. There's a chance that he's not good. We still haven't ruled out that possibility, and he wasn't great against Pittsburgh, but I feel good enough that I'd be comfortable starting him. Great
story, though. Hey, Lawrence, Josh Downs?
It's crazy that I'm actually going to say 3 beers, which is the same as for T. Higgins here. But it's because Cincinnati allows the 10th most points to receivers. In the last 2 games, they've allowed 2 receivers to get at least 50 yards. We know Josh Downs is the number 2 receiver there. His targets kind of fluctuate, but I would need at least 3 beers.
All right, back to Rams, Ravens. Matthew, Gus Bus.
Yeah, look, I'd want 3 beers for Gus Edwards as well. He needs a touchdown. Point blank, full stop. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he's
the
brutal.
poster child for touchdown dependent.
Touchdown dependent poster child.
Yeah.
He's the textbook definition.
Yep.
He's on the Wikipedia page, the whole thing. In games in which he doesn't score a touchdown this year, guys, he's averaging 5.5 yards per carry. That is not, I'm sorry. He's averaging 5.5 fantasy points per game. I was like, that doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Nigga, I'm about to say, that's good.
That'd be a hell of a stat.
I was looking at myself. So
you were
when
hearing
I looked
yourself.
at the camera and I see, for what you guys
Yeah.
don't see this, but I see what you see. I see a
Right.
picture of myself. And I'm like, I look pretty good today. All right.
Just got
Got
distracted.
you, yeah. Look at that handsome
Got
fellow.
distracted by my own
Gus
sexiness.
Edwards. Yeah, I'm
Unbelievable.
too sexy for my fantasy show. All right. Games in which he doesn't score a touchdown, 5.5 fantasy points per game. He's got only 3 games this year with more than 62 scrimmage yards. Keaton Mitchell, Lawrence's guy, Michael's guy, out-snapped Gus Edwards 32-18 the last time we saw the Ravens play. So it's just how lucky do you feel that he gets into the end zone today? Because without it, I have 3 beers, and I'll tell you, I'm in a deep dynasty league. I'm not starting him.
Jay, what about Zay Flowers?
Yeah, it feels a little precarious, but at the same time, Zay Flowers, he is the number 1 weapon for a Lamar Jackson offense I think kind of without question. He is the guy. They use him in creative ways. He had a great game against the Chargers, so just 2 beers for Zay Flowers.
And Lawrence Cooper Kupp?
I would need 3 beers to start Cooper Kupp, and that's being respectful to him and what he done. But Baltimore's allowed the 2nd fewest fantasy points to receivers. Cooper Kupp went over 50 yards 7 games ago. That was the last time he do it.
Damn.
So to see him get like 80 or something like that versus this defense would be tough for me. So I would say 3 beers. I'm starting guys like Nico Collins, Michael Pittman, and Chris Olave. I'm literally looking at a fantasy team right now of mine where I'm starting those guys over Kupp. So I need 3.
Wow. All right. Seahawks, Niners, Matthew, Tyler Lockett.
2 beers for Tyler Lockett. Look, don't feel great about Drew Lock under center as well, but if there's a positive here, he's gotten at least 8 targets, Tyler Lockett has, in 4 of the past 5 games, and when he sees at least 8 targets, he's averaging over 17 fantasy points per game. They're basically 2 touchdown underdogs to the Niners, so you expect Drew Lock or, Geno Smith on half a groin to be throwing quite a bit in this one, and so Lockett, who is a talented wide receiver, 2 beers in essence for Tyler Lockett. Don't feel great about it, but you're banking on volume and talent, his own personal talent, Tyler Lockett as well. So.
Okay. And Jay, for that matter, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who you already talked about.
He's my wide receiver 24, just to be clear on Lockett.
Tyler Lockett.
So he's a risky wide receiver 3.
Yeah, wide receiver. Yeah.
Yep. JSN for me, 4 beers, and don't feel great if it is Drew Lock, which it looks like it's going to be. Now, JSN, he's trending in the right direction. Awesome game against Dallas, but just with the matchup, I understand it's going to be a throw script, but to take advantage of a throw script, you actually have to get first downs and stay on the field. I'm not sure Drew Lock's going to be able to do that.
And Lawrence, what about Ken Walker?
I had 3 beers here first, but I'm really feeling like 4 beers actually, especially because they're both playing, both Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. That's that. Then you look at the matchup, we're talking about the San Francisco defense here, who allow the second fewest points to running backs per game. The last time a running back went for 50-plus yards versus San Francisco was week 8 before San Francisco went on that bye, and they came back off that bye pretty much destroying everybody.
All right. That will do it for Beer Goggles. Now that you guys are feeling loose, feeling a little bit of buzz, Matthew, 2, 5.
Yeah, that's right. Come and get it, guys.
10 beers for Matthew.
Yeah.
All right. So you're 10 beers in.
I'm 10 beers. I went 10 rounds with Jose Cuervo.
You just buttoned up just now?
Oh, yeah, no.
He's unbuttoned.
Give him something. Give him something to work with here. Yeah, let's go. Hi, boys.
Hey, Lawrence coming in hot.
Yeah.
All right. I remember, Matthew, I said, remember this for later. This is about Keaton Mitchell here.
Sure.
So you know the numbers. You know the increase in snap share here, and I'm gonna just get straight to the point. I'm a straight shooter when it comes to these types of things, right? Keaton Mitchell, alternate rushing yards, 60 plus at plus 150. Now, when I put this in this morning, it was plus 160. It's now plus 50, which is still a good number. He's cleared this number 2 times, and it was the 2 times he got at least 9 carries. That's all it takes. 9 carries for this man to get 60 yards, and we know the 60 yards, that's safe. He gonna get more than that, but to still get it at plus money, 60 yards, there you go.
Okay. My pickup line, Matthew, is Justin Jefferson. Good football player. He's back today. So Justin Jefferson, I'm taking his alternate receiving yards, 100 plus at plus 220. Here's the case. You mentioned this earlier. His 4 healthy games to start the season, he averaged 135. And there was talk about him being, I think some people will be worried about him being on a snap count, but he just might not be. And Kevin O'Connell said there would be no restrictions on Justin Jefferson. He's usually set at like 95.5. Today's at 74.5. So you ride the variance that he might just be full go, and it's plus 220 for 100 plus.
I like both of those, but I don't know how I'm going against Justin Jefferson. I'm at plus 220. I'm with you, but
I like that one too. When Jay's gonna go up against me with another plus money bet, I'm like
plus money crouch.
Done. Plus money crouch. It's plus money Jackson over here. I like both. I'm actually gonna go bet both bets right now during the commercial break, but I like both of them. But I'm going home with Jay. But Lawrence, as always, keep your phone on. Maybe roll through late at night.
He doesn't have enough fun with me and Jay Jettis.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was eavesdropping on the Keaton Mitchell, so you got me.
Right.
Hey, you up?
Yeah.
See, you treat Keaton Mitchell like a side dish. Yeah. That's his main man. No pun intended.
Exactly right.
All right.
Right. Because you never know how the evening ends, you know.
I think this is scary how much you like this segment. You really get into it.
Yeah.
It
makes him uncomfortable, which I like.
C.J. Stroud repping Tank Dell. Nice little warm-up action there. He was a pretty good hooper from what I understand back in the day.
A lot of them
throws,
always are.
right?
Just athletes.
Kind of
Yeah,
throws like he's shooting a basketball. The football. Just the whip.
I like the Tank Dell t-shirt though. They be on point with these t-shirts. Like they turn them around fast. You know?
Yeah, a lot of Kirk Cousins representing
Yeah.
back in the day.
Uh,
Oh, we're gonna show this?
yeah. I mean, like, are y'all gonna make it a race? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, this is
It's a good question.
pulling away.
Are you going to make it a race?
like, Jay, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
Well,
ask the tough questions.
I started overcompensating last week and just saying what he didn't say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It didn't work out.
Didn't work out because I got everything
You're
right.
gonna have to double up on that
Yes.
strategy
Yes.
this
Yeah,
week.
now you've got it. Now you're deep in the hole.
All right.
Yeah.
Ready to roll, guys?
Yeah,
Let's do
sure.
it.
Here we go. Who had more total yards? You want to start with Lawrence?
No, I was just pointing. I literally just put money down. The
Oh,
little
okay.
DraftKings app right here. Just put money down and keep Mitchell plus money. I'll bet yours afterwards because that's the later
I'm
game.
trying to do that too.
Yeah, exactly.
More total yards, Matthew. Bijan Robinson or Rashad Wright? Who had more total yards?
Bijan Robinson.
Rashad, what?
Bijan easy.
Who had more rushing yards, Justin Fields or David Montgomery Lawrence?
Give me Justin Fields.
Justin Fields.
I agree, Justin Fields. Sorry, guys.
Who had more receiving yards, Jamar Chase or Michael Pittman?
I'm going to say Michael Pittman.
Jamar Chase.
Jamar.
All right. Who had more receptions, Lawrence, Evan Ingram or David Njoku?
Man. Give me Njoku.
Evan Ingram.
Or receptions, huh?
More receptions.
Evan Ingram.
All right. More rushing yards, Chuba Hubbard or Alvin Kamara with no Taysom Hill in the lineup?
Yeah, more. I'm going to say Kamara.
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 All right. Who scored more fantasy points, Garrett Wilson or Nico Collins, Lawrence?
Nico.
Garrett Wilson.
Nico Collins.
All right, that's how you come back right there.
Come on, Garrett.
Who scored more fantasy points, Lamar Jackson or Kyron Williams? I love that question.
I know, because Lamar's been bad, but I'm going Lamar Jackson.
Excuse me.
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar.
Who had more receiving yards, Justin Jefferson or Devontae Adams, Lawrence?
Damn. Devontae.
Justin.
Justin Jefferson.
More passing yards, Brock Purdy or Geno Smith? Why are you laughing?
Say Geno Smith, man.
Yeah, please say Geno.
Go out on a limb.
Brock Purdy.
Brock
Yeah.
Purdy.
Lawrence.
Seriously?
Brock Purdy.
Oh, okay.
Brock Purdy. My bad. I thought we
no,
were in a
it's-
circle.
Okay.
I'll say if anyone picked
Oh, I
Geno,
didn't see-
you
I
also
didn't-
get Drew Lock. You get the
Yeah.
Seattle quarterback. How
No,
about
I
that?
don't want either one.
All right. Who scored more fantasy points, Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, Lawrence?
This is how we do it. Patrick Mahomes, baby.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
All right, Lawrence.
Yeah.
All right.
Gaining on second.
Yeah.
Who had more rushing yards, Matthew, Austin Eckler or Javonte Williams?
Javonte Williams.
Javonte Williams.
Javonte.
Ooh, all right. Who had more receiving yards, Lawrence, CeeDee Lamb or A.J. Brown?
Gotta go CD.
CD.
My guy 8. Come on.
Of course.
CeeDee Lamb.
More fantasy points, Devon Achane or Raheem Mostert?
Achan.
H.N.
A-Chan.
All right. Lastly, more receptions, Lawrence, Jaden Reed or Romeo Dobbs? Receptions.
Dobbs.
Dobbs.
Jaden Reed.
There you go.
All right.
There you go. I'll give
Yeah.
you one. That's a show.
Let's sneak in one last viewer question before we go.
Okay.
Hashtag FF pregame, hottest hashtag on Sunday mornings. We play for the last playoff spot. Spoken very little about that matchup. They know better. Running back need one. Brees Hall or David Montgomery?
David
Husband
Montgomery.
versus wife.
Husband versus wife. I'm going to say Dave Montgomery gets another touchdown against his former team.
D-Mod for me too. Yeah, I don't want any part of the Jets offense if I can avoid
For sure. Yeah, definitely Montgomery.
Husband, wife playing for the last playoff spot. They have spoken very little about the matchup.
They gonna be mad in the house
I
either
want
way.
to talk about. I want to
They
meet
talk-
this couple. I want to talk about it.
I know.
I want to find out all that goes into it.
You can, like, if you make the playoffs, great. And if you don't make the playoffs, you say, like, honey, I did this for you. So it's
Yes.
there's a win-win.
That's the secret to a good marriage. You want to keep the spice in your marriage? Play fantasy.
Hell yeah.
Many have said
Or
this.
fantasy football.
There you go, Matthew. Well done. That was a better joke than your terrible James Cook gags. Well done, Matthew. You finally got a good joke.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. For Lawrence, Dan, Michael, I'm Matthew. Go get yourself a win. Peace out.